Good afternoon, everyone. This is the regular meeting of this is our meeting of September 14th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Trustee Yelsey?
Here.
Trustee Barto?
Here.
Trustee Matoye?
Here.
Trustee Wigand?
Here.
Trustee Anderson?
Here.
Trustee Crane?
Here.
Trustee Ursoilu?
Here.
Dr. Bangzer?
Here.
Okay, the next one, which should be fairly easy, but it's not today. So, adoption of the agenda. I just want to make a couple of comments. We are going to move item 21A, which is an agenda item requested by a member of the public, to before number 17, which is comments on agendized items. And then we are pulling 19D6, the master contract of Provo Canyon School, but just Provo Canyon School. There are several contracts in there. We're just pulling that one
Off completely?
off.
Okay.
And then I would like to adjourn the meeting in memory of John Emmy. He was a teacher at Corona Del Mar High School who began in 1997. He was a beloved teacher, person, friend. He was a baseball coach from 97 to 2018, won many CIF championships. And the school is really grieving over his loss. So I would like us all to take a moment to remember him, just after having a whole weekend of remembrance of 9/11 victims. So it's been a sad time, and we should take that into consideration. So, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Metoyer, seconded by Trustee Wigand. Roll call vote?
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Matoye?
Yes.
Trustee Wigand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursoilu?
Yes.
Community input on closed session items only. I do not see anyone who's going to make a comment.
Then I
So
don't have to talk.
You won't have to talk. So we will now move to closed session. The items are 5A, threat to public services or facilities. 5B, conference with labor negotiator. 5C, public employee dismissal, discipline, dismissal, release, employment. And 5D, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, employment, number 202108 HR. We will move into closed session at 3:35 and return at 6 o'clock for our regular meeting. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to just read a couple of rules of our boardroom. First of all, we welcome you to the boardroom and to our meeting. For those present in our audience, please sit in the seats provided unless addressing the board or entering or leaving the boardroom. Please mute your cell phones and don't block the aisles with personal belonging. As this is a meeting of our board, any person who disrupts the meeting will be called to order. If such conduct continues, we may request the person or persons to leave the boardroom until they can conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. We appreciate everyone following these rules of the room as we proceed in doing our business this evening. Additionally, we will all be wearing masks at the beginning of our meetings because we are very excited to welcome our student board members for the first time this evening. And as we do in our schools, whenever we are with students, we have masks on. So we will be masked during the part of the meeting until they give their reports. Our student board members will then leave. They will join us on Zoom, and people may remove their mask if they have been vaccinated. If you have not been vaccinated, we would like you to keep your mask on. Okay, we will now have an opening ceremony, a moment of reflection, and pledge to the flag led by Trustee Wigand. Please rise.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a statement to read from closed session.
You're not reading into the microphone. It's not picking.
Is it on? I have a statement. I have a statement for coming from closed session. In closed session, the Board of Education took action to approve the resignation agreement and general release for number 2021-OHHR. The agreement provides for a brief period of paid administrative leave and the employee's full waivers of any and all claims against the district. The roll call vote was as follows. The motion was made by Char Matoye. It was seconded by Trustee Barto. The roll call vote was 7 ayes, 0 noes. This has been an extraordinarily difficult time for the community, the district, administration, and staff. With this action by the board this evening, we have followed due process, taken decisive action to put this matter behind us, and move forward with the positive work of the district.
And just to note that Trustees Crane and Trustee Ursulou are joining us on Zoom.
Oh, yes. We have two of our trustees, and
See, you can't hear that.
will we see them?
Bob would have to let us know.
Well, they will be joining us. Okay, we will see them. Okay, item 11, introduction of staff.
Adoption of minutes. We didn't adopt
Okay.
minutes.
Adoption of minutes, 8/17/21, 8/18/21. Do you have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Moved by Trustee Wygan, seconded by Trustee Barto. Roll call vote,
Trustee Yelsey,
yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes.
Trustee Matoye,
Yes.
Trustee Wigand,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Ursulou,
Yes.
Okay, now we'll move to introduction of staff.
Thank you.
Mr. Drake and Dr. Torres.
All right. So it is my pleasure, President Yelsey, trustees, and guests, to introduce to you our principal of Whittier Elementary School, Randy Lambert. As Randy's making his way on up to the podium here, I'll just share a little bit of his background. Randy's been in school administration for 10 years as a site administrator, 6 as a principal. He began his career as an elementary school teacher, teaching English overseas to students first through 7th grade. And he also taught 5th grade as ELD and 8th grade. So he's heading back to where he started, because I do know that Randy also spent quite a bit of time as an administrator at secondary, at middle schools in the Ocean View School District, at Springview Middle School and Mesa View Middle School. I do know from the letters of recommendation that Ocean View, once again, is sad to see one of their finest leave, as we are grateful to receive Randy. What you hear everybody talk about in relation to Randy is his energy and his ability to make quick, lasting relationships and establish those relationships for the betterment of the school. So I'm excited to introduce to you Randy Lambert as our principal of Whittier Elementary School.
And I'm smiling underneath my mask, so if you guys, but board president, Yelsey, board members, Superintendent Bangster, I just really want to tell you how ecstatic and how excited I am to be part of the Newport-Mesa team. It's been a busy month, but it has been a fulfilling month. And I think this is a good sign of things to come. I'm incredibly proud of the way that the Whittier team has embraced the new school year, embraced our community, embraced our students. It's been wonderful, and I'm just so pleased to be part of of the team. I do want to take time, I do want to acknowledge my rock and my foundation and my why. My family is my wife Eva and my son Finley, third grade son. They're back here and they support me immensely and they are amazing. So thank you to them. And again, I'm just excited to continue to work with all of you and continue to make Whittier a great place for all learners. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And thank you for introducing your family. We would have asked you, but we were glad that you took the lead and did that. So terrific. Welcome.
All right, and then following that up, in our secondary group, I'd like to welcome up Dr. Raquel Stevens. Raquel has joined us this year. She is the proud principal of our Cloud campus, and we were grateful to steal her from, most recently, from Irvine Unified. Raquel has extensive experiences with all aspects of online learning. In fact, that is really where she had emerged as a leader in her career. She has most recently served in the Irvine Unified School District as the K-12 coordinator for online learning. She was responsible for the oversight and program development over there and really helping launch digital learning for Irvine Unified. Prior to that, she taught mathematics at the high school level, and she also dabbled in primary grades and higher education settings. So she's really been able to round out her career as it comes to digital education. Her extensive background and excitement for virtual learning has been a great asset to our district and family. Our cloud campus is relatively new, and we look forward to having your expertise and your energy to continue to create that campus and provide wonderful experiences for our students. As a side note, she enjoys traveling. She has a 25-year-old daughter, and if any of us need a trip, she has a pilot's license. So she can fly us somewhere, fly us away. So welcome, Dr. Stevens, and please join me in welcoming her to our team.
Thank you so much, Superintendent, Board, and Trustees. I'm so excited to be part of the Newport-Mesa family. This is my 31st year in education, the last 20 of which have been in virtual education from the times where we were just running virtual schools on spreadsheets because nothing was developed. And I've seen the full range of virtual learning come from the ground up. I consider myself a pioneer in virtual learning, and I'm excited about the Cloud Campus. In its really foundational years to be able to grow and establish it as a viable educational option. Thank you so much. And a shout out to my adult daughter, Rebecca Hernandez, who's watching us live tonight.
Great. Cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we added another member to our team. We have Samantha Payne. So Samantha, come on up. It's like the Price is Right. Come on down. And so we are so proud to have been able to promote and appoint Samantha as the new principal of Ensign. And so she has been with us for quite some time. Samantha joined the Newport-Mesa family in 2001 when she came aboard at CDM, and she taught 7th, 8th, and 9th grade English. And so we're putting those skills to work. While at CDM, she served as the English department chair, BITSA support provider, and the Performing Arts and Multimedia Academy director. And in 2016, she served as the AP at Ensign, got her first taste there, and she loved it so much. She had said when it opened up, she was going to give it a go. And in 2017, she accepted the position of assistant principal at CDM and is now the proud principal. We are so excited to have you, Samantha. You have totally hit the ground running. So it's as if you had been there the whole time. We gave her lots to do, and she's running with that. And in her spare time, she loves to snowboard. She loves to attend concerts, enjoy live music with friends and family, and she enjoys traveling. This summer, we interviewed her from Maui, and in February, she's heading to Vail. So please help me welcome her to our family as a principal.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. President Yelsey, members of the board, interim Superintendent Bangser, and members of cabinet. I am so honored to have been selected to be principal at Ensign Intermediate. I have always had a real heart
for the 7th and 8th grade students. And although I know their time in middle school is short and it goes by quickly, I really believe it's an impactful time in their lives. At Ensign, we've already hit the ground running. We are really focusing on connection and eliciting and responding to student thinking. And as I've had the opportunity to circulate the campus and to circulate classrooms, I have seen our students enthusiastically engaged with each other and with their curriculum. I'm very excited for what this year has in store. And I just, once again, I want to thank you for the honor to serve this community in this capacity. I don't know if you were going to mention it, but if not, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to my parents who happen to be in town from Arizona.
Nice.
Leon and Bill. And they are my rock and always have been. And so I'm so grateful that they were able to coincidentally be here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. And that's terrific that your parents are here, Sam. We are all fortunate that we know Sam already. We know very well what she's capable of. And Ensign is very
Lucky.
fortunate to have you there now. It was Corona Del Mar's loss, but we're glad you're still in the district and are leading Ensign at this point. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. I'm glad to be a bee.
Could be a bee.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's it for me.
That's it. Student board member reports. Trustee Barco?
Yes, so I'm going to invite our student board members to come up one at a time to give their reports to the dais, and we'll introduce them. We are so excited to have our student board members at the meeting with us, and look forward to when we can have them here for the entire time. But please give a warm welcome to our 21-22 student board member class, our second class. So I'm going to go ahead and go as on the agenda. We're missing our student board member from Back Bay Monte Vista High School, Gibson Schobeck, and look forward to hearing from him when he is able to attend. Corona Del Mar High School, our student board member is Katie Barnes. Katie, would you like to come up and give us your board member report?
Hello, my name is Katie Barnes and I am from Corona Del Mar High School. I understand that tonight, as student board members, we are to address the question about ways to improve how we use technology that we started using last year. Our school started using Schoology, an online site that informed students of their grades and assignments. It was a very positive platform as we were able to submit work and not use paper. The calendar and to-do list was very helpful as well. We could improve on this by making it more user-friendly, and when students want to see their grades and assignments and tests, either by better training or contacting Schoology to see if they can improve this aspect of their program. Other technology that has been beneficial to students' learning has been Flipgrid, Screencastify, and Edpuzzle. By continuing to use these programs this year, teachers are finding more efficient and flexible ways to teach and create interactive group work. The other technology we used last year was online learning through Zoom. In addition to Zoom for classes, we also learned Zoom was an effective way to communicate. Last year, we used Zoom for Club Rush. We also had more attendance than we ever had in Club Rush. We may continue to use Zoom for this event going forward. We may also use it to inform seniors about the college process, including college visits. Zoom may be an option we want to consider in some form for students who are at home quarantining if they are testing positive or exposed to COVID via other students. Many students will fall behind as they are quarantined. Either a video of live class or recorded class may also be helpful as we continue the school year. Thank you.
Thank
you. Right, and next I'm going to invite Costa Mesa High School student board member Sofia Catania, who is our roll call vote tonight as well.
Good evening, President Yelsey, members of the board, and superintendent. My name is Sofia Catania, and I am a senior at Costa Mesa High School. I'm honored to be here with you tonight and be able to work with my fellow student board members to represent our student body. In regards to our student report about our current technology use, I think I should start with pinpointing what it was that worked well for us last year. Many of my peers have voiced that they felt Google Classroom is a great resource and was used by many as their school agenda. Google Classroom was a way students could have all their resources, classwork assignments, and homework in one place where they could manage everything. Now, with it all being on Schoology, my peers do not feel like the interface replicates the feasibility of Google Classroom. Something I believe we should also continue doing is having digitized versions of all assignments posted online in order for students who are not physically attending school, either because of a sickness or because they have been exposed to or have contracted COVID-19. Having turned in all our homework online last year was also beneficial, as paper assignments handed out during school tend to get lost in backpacks traveling from school to home. Having all our assignments turned in online was also a great study tool, as we could go back and study them anytime before an assessment. Our teachers have also continued posting a week at a glance, which is a schedule of what we would be going over every day in class. It has been very helpful for students to have these weekly agendas and can be improved by including the specific assignments due that week, in order for students to better organize their homework schedule for the week. It would also be a way for students who are out sick to be able to stay on track with the rest of their peers from home. Thank you for listening and giving me the opportunity to give my report tonight.
Thank you, Sophia. And now we'll have from Early College High School, Nicole Mcmillan.
Hello, members of the board, President Yelsey, and Superintendent. I'm very honored to be here tonight, and I'm here on behalf of Early College High School. I'm Nicole Mcmillan, a junior at Early College High School, and as for the topic, I have spoken to a few people at my school and as well as ASB, and I have concluded that by far what most people have said that worked well, that we should continue for the next year. I know Zoom, the past year being online, it has been very difficult, and we are gladly back in school, and some of us may not be very fond of Zoom since we have been a full year with it, but I have concluded that many people think it's very beneficial, and especially I think in the last year, we've really learned how to connect without being physically with each other, and especially when it comes to things like not being able to make certain meetings, or we have other commitments that come up, and Zoom has really proven to be effective in letting us all come together. So I think it's not ideal. Obviously, we'd love to be together in person, but when things do come up, I think Zoom is really effective, and it would be a great way to bring us together if that's not possible. Additionally, some things that have been working well, according to my classmates and peers, paper has been a really great tool for us. It's awesome to be able to log on at night or when teachers may not be there to help us. It's been really effective, especially in our classes. So that's something that's been working really well as we have tutoring at SOY. And it's altogether, I think we've had a really great start to the year. And a lot of my peers agree that the things we've implemented to start off this year have been a great start and have provided a great foundation for this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they've been in for a while.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Next, from Estancia High School, we'll have Dane Dodge.
Good evening, board. My name is Dane Dodge. I'll be a representative from Estancia High School this year. So after interviewing and surveying my student population at Estancia, one thing was that a lot of students at our school saw the great potential that Schoology can have on our learning in class because we adopted it over Zoom. But they did have a few things they told me that might need to be tweaked to increase that production. Many students felt that they weren't properly or adequately trained in how to use the program, and they also felt a lot of their teachers weren't adequately trained to use these either. And it so far they've said it's caused headaches, whether it be losing assignments over the program or whether it be through miscommunication. Another thing that got brought up to me a lot was the restrictions, the services that restrict certain websites on our computers. A lot of students, especially with like using online learning, have to go to certain websites or watch certain videos to do certain reports, or even find pictures to put in papers. I even had one student tell me that they couldn't access a summary for a book that their teacher provided due to those restrictions. And then one thing that also was brought up to me a lot was especially a Wi-Fi problem at our school, whether it be due to sheer numbers on the servers or just lack of server strength. We had constant problems so far, and a student even brought up to me that a little over 2 weeks ago we had Wi-Fi go out school-wide. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, from Newport Harbor High School, we have Kate Cherry.
Good evening, board members, President Yelsey, and Superintendent. Hello, my name is Kate Cherry, and I represent Newport Harbor High School. After speaking with the students of Newport Harbor, I've gotten various feedback on the technology that we used last year and how we can incorporate that into our learning this year, even though we are now in person. One thing that I got a lot back from students was that Zoom was a very helpful device in that if students were to miss a certain event, they were able to go on Zoom and still log in if they were not able to attend for various different reasons, such as commitments, or they were sick or had been exposed to COVID-19 and were not able to fully attend in person. This has helped especially in that some teachers on our campus already have been opening Zooms up for students that have not been able to attend class. They're still marked absent, but with being able to go to Zoom, they're still able to get the material, and they do not fall behind in class, and many students have found this very useful. Something else that was brought up to my attention was that assignments online have been very helpful in that multiple websites have been used to help further students' learning and make learning at home more engaging. Websites such as Gizmos or Newsela or Edpuzzle, they've all helped increase student learning even when they were at home and were not able to have teacher connection or student connection and fully get that engaging in person. This was also good for students who have missed class and were not able to attend. So in addition with Zoom, they were able to get their assignments online and therefore were able to still do the work, even if they were not able to get a handout in class. This also helps in that a lot of students lose paper. I know I did this personally, and so being able to just turn it in before class alleviated the stress of, did I turn in my work? Do I have it in my binder? So this has also really helped. So being able to turn it in through these various different websites it was very beneficial to students. And I feel that, and my peers feel that if we were able to incorporate these websites and other online learning engagements to this school year, that our school year could be even better than it was in the past previous years. Thank you.
Thank you.
What great reports.
Yeah, those are really great reports. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate that.
And thank you. You all may be excused now, and we hope in not our first meeting in October, but the second meeting, that we will be able to have dinner with you before our board meeting out in the patio. So we'll look forward to that and getting the chance to talk to you more personally. So thank you very much.
Very much.
Okay, and next we will have Harbor Council PTA report. Lisa Bowler.
Good evening, President Yelsey, board members, cabinet, and Dr. Bangser. I want to report that Harbor Council is moving forward. We've had our second Harbor Council meeting, and we've had a good start to the new year. We have all of our PTA presidents in place except for one. Fingers crossed, on Thursday we are having a election PTA meeting at our final school, and hopefully somebody will step forward. But in the meantime, we're helping them move forward. We have over 2,100 PTA members so far, and I want to encourage all of you, even those of you out in TV land or Zoom land, we have jointotem.com as a platform for your convenience to join most any of our PTAs. We have, I think, 3 that aren't on Totem yet, but the rest of the schools are. All you do is go to jointotem.com and you type in the school you would like to join. It'll bring up their page, you put in your information, and you can join any and all of our PTAs. So hopefully you will be doing that. I've personally done about 8 so far. So it's super simple to do. I want to thank the people here who have attended my PTA meetings. We have gotten some fabulous information at our first meeting, we had interim superintendent Bangser, and he introduced himself, and he introduced Carrie Torres to us, and we had Kathleen Leary and Mary Graska, and they took and gave a little bit of talk and spent the majority of the time answering our PTA president's questions. And we had every question discussed, answered, and they have put together a FAQ, frequently asked questions, that were given to the PTA presidents and the principals at the same time, so everyone would have the same answers to our frequently asked questions. And that was fabulous. And I believe it's on the website if anyone is interested in checking it out. At our last meeting, we had John Drake and Carrie Torres and Sarah Jocham, and they again gave us some reports. Terry reported on Schoolology. We had one of our presidents who was in a different school district last year report that she loved it, found it very easy. So I've heard we have a few bugs to work out, but we're looking forward to that. John gave us a second grade lesson in math, which was very interesting. We were able to come up with the right answer, but not necessarily able to prove our work. So that was very interesting, and we now can help second graders with their math homework this much. And Sarah spoke on the upcoming parent education series that we will be having. Those dates will be coming shortly along with the topics. And that's my report. Thank you again for all of your help at our meetings, and please join the PTA. Oh,
Are the parent education meetings going to be on Zoom this year? It was so successful. We had such great attendance.
They were great last year, yes.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you very much. Sarah Otwater, NMFT. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, President Yelsey, board members, superintendent, and cabinet members. First off, on behalf of NMFT, I want to acknowledge the great work being done by teachers, nurses, counselors, and all the other service providers during the first 3 weeks of school. What you've seen and witnessed, with isolated exception, has been testament to the skill, dedication, talent, and commitment of your certificated workforce. What we have seen from our vantage point is the same, and we appreciate the open lines of communication between myself and Nicholas Dix, NMFT's executive director, and the district administrators and HR personnel that work with us as we represent certificated employees. What is perhaps unique to our vantage point is that we see that teachers and other school site employees on an ongoing basis are experiencing the expected additional stress, actual fear and stress and worry during COVID cases, close contacts, and COVID exposures that come with the job of being a school employee currently. I want all of us to remember that this is our new normal and for now, and that school employees are doing what is right for all of us for the benefit of children being able to be in school. So please remember that undercurrent, and that anything at all we may actually have control over, it's more important than ever to listen closely and be responsive. Next, please be aware that predictably nurses' workloads have increased exponentially, even from last year with the updated CDPH K-12 guidance. For just one example, the guidance can decrease the amount of quarantine time when a child wants to quarantine in school, and that requires testing 2 times a week, I believe 2. And so it keeps kids in school, but it's a huge increase in tasks, record keeping, and workload for nurses. We're pleased about the new contract tracer hires. However, NMFT foresees the need to hire additional nurses. We've reached out, they've reached out, we're hearing from them, and we believe this is a real need right now, more nurses. In addition to our focus on health, as we resume full attendance, non-hybrid instruction, we've been reminded of remaining concerns at some of our schools where there's been a significant change in design with gates. With such a big change, I imagine this is to be expected. COVID has been on the front burner. But we look forward to upcoming meetings with the district to continue to understand, collaborate, and resolve the remaining concerns surrounding this complex issue. Last, you may already be aware that the superintendent the Orange County Superintendent of Schools announced a postponement of the October Teacher of the Year banquet because of COVID-19 Delta variant. So NMFT looks forward to celebrating all honorees in April with you, April 2022. And of course, our district's Teacher of the Year coordinator, Jamie Robb, is already set about working in a yearly process for the as yet to be determined future honorees. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Pam Saunders from CSEA.
Good evening, President Yelsey, Board, Interim Superintendent Bankster, Cabinet, and guests. Thank you for this opportunity from CSEA. We would like to give a big thank you to all of our classified employees throughout the district for their hard work. Getting the students back into the classrooms for in-person learning is important. It is good to see happy, healthy students and staff transitioning back. We and our students are excited to be back in person. Our members have done a great job and have always said yes since the beginning of the pandemic. We are the ones that have always been there to support students and district needs no matter the circumstances. CSE wants to ensure that classified member needs and concerns will be addressed, especially with the changes regarding masks, social distancing, and vaccinations as per Newport-Mesa guidelines and following all the rules from all agencies. CSEA is looking forward to ample notification and collaboration regarding any workplace changes. We appreciate all the time spent with us in negotiations, and CSEA members look forward to your approval of our tentative agreement and our 2 MOUs tonight. However, subsequent action is needed for implementation of the 2 MOUs, Summer Assistance Program, and MER's Miscellaneous Earning Report. These will help to strengthen our employees and is a huge benefit to all members. Thank you for your collaboration and support. And again, thank you for this opportunity, CSEA Chapter 18.
Thank you very much. To both our associations, I just wanted to make a comment. We do know how hard everybody is working with the beginning of school. We are still in COVID. I know we're back to full-time all day, every day, and that's what our goal will be for the year. But we know it's not easy, and especially with all the COVID protocols, we hear that teachers are, and administrators, everybody is struggling at some point. And so please convey to your groups that we do understand, we appreciate, and we really thank them for what they're doing this year. And I just got a little note. Just for those who are vaccinated and would prefer not to wear masks, you can take your mask off. If you would prefer to have them or you are not vaccinated, please keep them on. We'll move on to community input for non-agendized items. Trustee Metoyer.
This is an opportunity for the public to address the board regarding items not on the regular meeting agenda. Comments on non-agenda topics are limited to 3 minutes per comment, up to 20 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another person.
Okay, the first person is April Murray. And I'll call 3 people so you'll know to come after one another. April Murray, and then Zeke Jenkins and Haley Jenkins.
Hi, my name is April Murray, and I am here this evening to address the board in regards to transparency of training materials that the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, and True Equity is using to train the teachers and staff. I have had children in the Newport-Mesa School District since 2012. We currently have 3 school-age children and 1 who has since graduated. This past March, we made the hard decision to pull our 2 youngest children, grades 4 and 6, out of the public school system and homeschool them full-time. We felt that we could not risk their impressionable, informative minds to be poisoned by any form of critical race theory, not to mention being subjected to the absurd and completely unwarranted task of wearing a mask all day long. Our daughter remains in public school as a sophomore in high school. She expressed her desire to be the voice that speaks out against any racist practices or ideas that this school district has decided to inject into her learning. She's a kid and this isn't her fight. And although our knee-jerk reaction was to remove her from the school system as well, in the end, it was our daughter who reminded us that nothing changes if you don't speak up. This is personal, and it's our job to fight for her. So I'm here today requesting to see and have access To the materials being used by the ADL and True Equity, two organizations that my taxpayer dollars have paid to train our teachers and staff. The same teachers and staff that have direct contact with my child on a daily basis, the same adults that I have entrusted my child's mind with, the same teachers that are charged with caring for my child and enriching her life with knowledge and a passion to learn. If I cannot be confident that the teachers and staff aren't teaching anything but the subject of the class that she is sitting in, like English, math, history, or science, then the school system is failing and you all should be very concerned. If we do not get access to these materials, I have to assume that you are promoting something incredibly insidious, divisive, and manipulative, and manipulative in the form of a critical race theory. Any form of critical race theory is abusive and undermines what our children inherently feel and know, that it is the content of their character, not the color of their skin, that defines them. When you put race at the forefront of their learning, you achieve the opposite of what kids instinctively want, to be accepted and loved for who they are on the inside. They're not concerned with race or privilege or bias. That is a burden put onto them by the adults in their lives. So why are you continuing to burden them? Children don't need to have active discussions about racism, privilege, or bias. They don't want to, and when asked to, they feel uncomfortable. This seems like such a basic request that it makes me wonder if anyone on this school board has children of their own and if you truly care about our children. Show us the materials that are being used by the ADL and True Equity to train our teachers and staff who will have a real and lasting impact on our children. The excuse that this information is proprietary is not acceptable.
Thank you. Zeke Jenkins.
Good evening, board. First, thank you for allowing me a couple minutes to speak. I'd also like to extend kind of my feeling of gratitude. I know your positions are very, very difficult pre-COVID, especially during COVID. Oftentimes thankless jobs, and you can never make everybody happy. So I understand it is a very, very difficult position you are in, and truly, with sincere gratefulness, I thank you for your service and what you do. Was unable to attend the last meeting, but want to comment on the same trainings that April did there. And I have three requests, please. Like her, please share the information and the materials. My wife has asked repeatedly and followed the protocols to get the materials, which have been ignored. At the end of the day, if the materials are teaching kindness, if they're teaching love, if they're teaching understanding, we're all for it, right? If they're teaching labels and putting race at the forefront, some of the items that April's talked about, then there's a problem. And I think the best thing to do, I mean, this is a wonderful school district. This is a wonderful area. We have well-educated, loving people. Let's come together as a community and come together on both sides and think about what are the best solutions here rather than using some politically charged political agencies like the Anti-Defamation League, like the ADL. Let's solve it in-house. Let's solve it with our community and brainstorm on ways, again, with people from both sides, right? Two, if there are specific instances of racism or kids being bullied based on the color of their skin or their culture, let us know. All of us would come together from either side of opinions and tackle that head on and eradicate that. We all know that's unacceptable. So again, I think as a community, if there's an issue or a challenge or specific concern or something happening in the schools with the students, we can come together and eradicate that and educate our kids. And three, the last thing I just want to say from a global view, it's going to be interesting as we look back on this past year, 2 years, and the next couple of years, as I think our country is going through a major change because of this pandemic. You know, one on the same level as the Civil War, as the Revolutionary War, as World War II. And hopefully it's not going to result in that kind of physical bloodshed and conflict. But it's going to be, I think, a conflict that we look back of our attitudes, right? And what side do we want to be on? Do we want to be on the side that's an attitude of division, of labels, of name-calling, of creating frustration between people? Or do we want to be on the side of an attitude of love, collaboration, and understanding? And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all really asking. Let's look at the materials. Let's all come together and brainstorm on the best solutions and make sure that the principles are love, kindness, and understanding. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Kaylee Jenkins.
Hi, my name is Haley, so thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here again tonight, as they've spoken with already, to discuss the two controversial programs and trainings scheduled to take place this year with the teachers and students. One is the program with Dr. Teresa Neighbors that UCI runs, the Diversity, Inclusion, and Racial Healing Ambassador Program, and the others are the two Implicit Bias and Becoming an Ally trainings run by the ADL. Again, as I've asked you before in the past, have all of you read through all the materials or gone through the trainings yourselves? I still haven't heard that answer. Last month, you all happily voted to continue to fund the ADL to the tune of $26,200 to keep going with this. And then a few months prior, you paid Teresa Neighbors' company, True Equity, $45,000 for her consulting services with these programs. So according to the ADL, A World of Difference summary that you all have posted on the district website, it says you're conducting a needs assessment in order to customize each training to each school's needs. So if I'm understanding that correctly, each training will be different according to the schools. So again, have you seen all of these trainings? As a parent and taxpayer that is funding these controversial programs, I want to know exactly what they are teaching. I believe all parents and local taxpayers have a right to see the materials. So how can we do that? I filed 2 FOIA requests in the beginning of July, and my requests were delayed by 10 days and then flat out ignored, which I believe is illegal. After multiple calls and emails to the district, I received an email reply 46 days later, which is unacceptable. They were a bunch of redacted, blacked out screens and a note that said the district does not maintain or have access to presentations or other material created by the third-party service provider at issue. The district understands that such material is proprietary and copyrighted and was not provided to the district. So help me to understand, you don't have any of these materials and nobody can see them. These programs were already run in 2019, so certainly you should have something for them. I also reached out to the ADL asking them if they could answer some of my questions about the trainings, and surprise, I received no response. So when this happens, it makes me very suspicious and more than concerned for what the trainings are. In looking at their actual websites on the ADL and the UCI Deconstructing Diversity web pages, what they describe in the trainings are really appalling. They're really scary. And I'm not the only one. I've had lots of teachers and parents reach out. So I ask you to please make 100% sure that you all know what you're providing to the teachers and the students. Make them available to the parents and taxpayers, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina Cardoza.
Hi, good evening. My name is Javier Zamorano. I am the district interpreter here at Newport-Mesa. I've been asked to read this letter by Mrs. Christina Cardoso. She's here. My name is Christina Cardoso, the mother of Alexa Cardoso, who is in 3rd grade at Whittier Elementary School. I am writing this letter on behalf of myself and the undersigned parents to complain about canceling bus transportation for our children. We've already had several verbal correspondences with the school's front office and transportation office. In each case, we were either told there was nothing they could do or talk to someone else. The issue remains unresolved 2 weeks into the school year. While we have not been able to organize a temporary transportation solution, we are not comfortable continuing it long-term as 16 children are participating in it at this time. We rely on the previously established bus stop at Center Street and Anaheim Avenue. This bus stop has been in place for over 40 years, and we've organized our schedules around utilizing services in this pickup and drop-off location. We may not understand the political reason why the bus routes were changed, but nothing we do now for sure is the safety of our children is in jeopardy. During the hybrid learning model of the 2021 school year, we were forced not to participate in the return to school part day sessions because we worked and there was no transportation available to us. Once again, our options were limited. Again, this was not fair for our children. As single moms, we feel we are being penalized and forced to choose between our children's safety and work. After reviewing a report that Newport-Mesa transportation employees submitted, Shelley Humphrey, at a school board meeting held via Zoom, we disagree with her findings and why bus route changes were made. Unfortunately, we had difficulties gaining access to the meeting, so we could not give public comments about the report when presented. We believe the school has to take a bigger role in and responsibility for the safety of the children to and from the school, just like they did before COVID outbreak. Instead, it seems the district is only interested in finding ways to save money at the expense of our children's safety. I'm confident that you will agree with us that the current situation is not acceptable, and we kindly ask you to address the problem by taking the necessary actions for the sake of our children. Therefore, we specifically request that the school district reinstate the Center Street and Anaheim Avenue bus stop to Whittier Elementary School. You can reach me by phone or by email. Of course, I would also be happy to meet with you in person at your convenience. Thank you for your understanding and your time. Best regards.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Javier, would you please bring her letter so we can have a copy of it, please? Thank you.
Okay, next we have Lynn Riddle.
Board members, good evening. I'm Lynn Riddle. I'm a district resident, a former classroom teacher, and a retired federal judge. I mentioned that last thing only because in doing your job here, you read, listen, weigh, and decide issues or matters in your capacity as officers of government. That's not unlike the job that I had in court. I read, I listened, weighed, and decided the issues before me more than 50,000 times in passionately contested matters, I might add, based on evidence that most often came from persons giving testimony. At court, any disruptions in the sanctity or the respect for that process is a contempt not only of court, but of the dignity and the importance of our open, democratic, participatory justice processes. And certainly, no one in the audience is ever permitted to disrupt, belittle, or bully a witness. That's unthinkable. Here, public members come before you to offer their testimony, their opinions, and the facts as they see them regarding a particular issue of concern to them. As community, we want and we value public input, public testimony, but that core participatory democratic value is corrupted and it's destroyed when others in the room disrupt, boo, audibly belittle public commenters. That's bullying, pure and simple. It has no place in any civil process, and certainly not in any school board member with children present. What kind of modeling or impression does such conduct make on the children present and the students within this district? Audience conduct at your August 17th meeting was not only contemptuous, it was quite frankly heartbreaking. To see the bullying of sincere speakers, the shouting out, the bullying, the mocking, and that was permitted without rebuke or consequence. That, in my view, is a shame upon our community. Worse, such behavior dissuades future commenters, except derisive bullies, of course, from coming forward. It simply lets poor deportment become your standard. The August 17th audience conduct would not be tolerated in any of our classrooms. Why, as a community, do we insist upon, expect more civil, bully-free comportment from grammar school children than from their parents and our own neighbors. Your bylaw 9023 makes clear that disruptive behavior, willful interruptions during a meeting are not to be tolerated. Those protections must not be limited to the board members, but accorded to every person and speaker in the room. Thank you for your consideration of my plea for community kindness and for civility. And thank you.
Kate Jarvis.
Good evening. My name is Kate Jarvis, and I'm a resident of East Bluff, and I'm also a mother of former East Bluff elementary students. So I'm pretty old, but in any case, I am here representing not only myself and my alumni children, but also those of parents or friends of mine that are parents and also parent alumni. And the reason I'm here is to thank you, number one, for the incident regarding Miss Kristen Pitson. And I would thank you for your public statement that said that while we do not discuss employee-related matters, we can tell you that showing respect and honor for our nation's flag is a value that we instill in our students and an expectation of our employees. We take matters like this seriously and will be taking action to address it. And so I want to thank you for that, and I understand that she is on leave. Is that correct?
She is.
She is. Okay, thank you.
We said that.
So the issue that I have before you tonight is that's one aspect of handling the situation, which I do appreciate, which was very quickly taken care of. But the other aspect of it is, how do we prevent this from happening again? How do we prevent our students from being subjected to personal political agendas, no matter what the personal political agenda would be? You know, she had one political agenda. What if somebody else had another one? I don't want to be a child in that classroom because my time is being taken up. I should be learning. I should be going through the curriculum. There are so many other things on these kids' plates right now. They don't need this happening again. And so what I'm asking you tonight, I have a minute left, and so I would actually yield it to you. Can you tell me what system you have in place to ensure that you have oversight and that the principals have oversight in the classrooms?
Ms. Jarvis, I'm sorry, we don't respond to comments on non-agendized items, but the superintendent will be giving a report after me, and he can comment if he would like on those, okay?
Okay, great.
But as a board, we don't respond because there are other people who may not be here who would be talking on the same topic.
Okay, a response would be appreciated, not only for my peace of mind, but also for actually the parents of current students and then future students too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cecilia Iglesias.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and members of the public. My name is Cecilia Iglesias. I'm president of the Parent Union, an organization that supports parents and believes parents are in the driver's seat regarding their child's education. I'm an immigrant from El Salvador. I am proud to be an American citizen, grateful for the contributions of all cultures that makes America what it is today. I am a proud product of the public school system. Therefore, I believe that children should be taught the truth about America, not one influenced by politics. I know that America may sometimes fall short of its ideals, but was founded with principles that value all people, and these principles are worth striving for. CRT undoes decades of progress in the United States. Instead of fostering unity and equality, critical race theory highlights the differences between people and races. CRT focuses on people's skin color, not their character. We should be creating unity among students, not divisiveness. CRT teaches immigrants and children of color to be victims, and white children to feel guilty about their heritage and skin color. Instead of teaching students that hard work pays off and will set them up for a lifetime of success, even when success brings challenges, CRT teaches students that America will always be out to get them because of their race and skin color. We know that the teachers' union is driving critical race theory. The teachers' union embraces CRT because it shifts the blame away from them. Teachers' unions have neglected their duties as educators and are now claiming institutional and systemic racism are the reasons for their failures. We won't overcome the union-crafted institutional problems by dividing students and teaching them to be victims. Our current system, where only students from wealthy families can leave poor-performing public schools for ones where they can receive a quality education. Ultimately, what CRT does is rejects American principles of equality and freedom. I humbly ask that you take my comments into consideration when voting on policy and curriculum that negatively affects our students regardless of their race. Please vote on curriculum that will focus more on the fundamentals of learning and education, like English, reading, writing, math, and sciences. Thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you. Dennis Ashendorf.
Good evening, President Yelsey and distinguished trustees. My name is Dennis Ashendorf. I'm a citizen of Costa Mesa, and also I teach at Back Bay. It's a pleasure to see you all this evening. Please add an item to your next agenda. A modification to curriculum adoption policy. Seek curricula neither written nor affiliated with the writers, either original or final, of the relevant standards if possible. No, it's a small thing. Consider illustrative math. It's a fine series, no complaints. But isn't it strange that respected programs like Singapore Math weren't even qualified for consideration? Didn't the writer, owner of illustrative math also write the Common Core math standards? Isn't that self-dealing? Writing standards creates conflicts of interest. For example, the new math framework, with Dr. Bowler as the lead author, very respected, pushes data science, but she's also a leader of a data science curriculum. Maybe it's great, but let's make sure we don't disqualify programs like UCLA's 2 data science curriculums on some technicality, which is very likely. Okay. In K-12, we prefer strong alignment to standards, which is called specsmanship in business and a scam by everybody else. For example, years ago when I was buying robots, I'd read specifications that included many silly things like their color and the shape of their feet to limit the choice to one vendor. That's common practice, folks. Would you please approve a policy modification for the future? Seek curricula, neither written nor affiliated with the writers, either original or final, of the relevant standards if possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 16, superintendent comments. Dr. Bangs.
So while the comments were offered under non-agendized items, I was sharing some thoughts with President Yelsey, and she shared some with me. And one of the things that I've learned over these years is, when I've been superintendent, is that if you plan a certain type of comment before speakers come to the podium, often what you plan to say is far less relevant than what they had to say or asked. So while I'm not going to go point by point of the 20 plus minutes of comments, I do want to honor and be respectful of those people who came tonight. And I'm going to offer some services to the people with whom I work every day, and that would be executive cabinet members and others, because I do think there are ways to get at some of the issues that you raised without having you feel that you say things and nothing comes back to you, because I know how frustrating that can be, right? So we're not going to do that. Let me take the first group of comments involving the ADL training. I'll just give you a context, and then I'm going to ask Assistant Superintendent Torres to make her time available to meet with up to all three of you, either together or individually, to address the issues that you raised. I can tell you, I started on August 3rd as the interim superintendent, and I did view the July 13th board meeting when the board set aside what would have then been what we called ADL Training 201, or the second year of training. And I was involved, as certainly Assistant Superintendent Torres was, others, in the a better look at a way to continue the ADL training, which was extremely popular, well received by certainly a high majority of people. But the second year training I felt was a bit obtuse. And that quote about proprietary information was absolutely correct. It was something that I found ill-conceived, to be honest with you. And it came enough in advance of the August 17th board meeting where we made the decision to not move on the second year program. So in fact, what is in place now is the continuation of the first year program from previous years. Point one. Point two, when you have a conversation with Cara Torres, you'll learn, in fact, that, as somebody mentioned, the program that we're offering to the staff and selected students who volunteer is on the website. It's been on the website since fairly soon after the August 17th meeting, where we felt that it was important to do that. So that may or may not meet everybody's standards of transparency, but it's a pretty darn good way of getting at some of the issues. That's the ADL piece. What I know about it and what I think you can learn about it, not only by reading the website if you haven't done that yet, but speaking with Cara Torres. That would be point one. Point two, on transportation, I did view the presentation from Shelley Humphreys from, I'm calling it spring. It was extremely detailed. I know she is a pro at what she does. That doesn't mean that everybody will agree with her conclusions. But again, now I'm offering Tim Holcomb and Shelley Humphreys as a way to sit down with whomever from, in this case, Whittier. That was the speaker, perhaps others who want to get more insight into the transportation decision that was put in place in July for this year. As far as the commentary about the teacher, you have, I appreciate your comments about the language that we used on the website through the first week or so after this whole thing emerged. The board has dealt with this issue. Technically, that person is on administrative leave, as it said on the website, and that is the best definition I can give you right now, but the person is not returning to the classroom. As far as the very good question about, well, can we avoid this in the future? I have to tell you the answer is no. It just is not possible to monitor every teacher speaking every day in every class through the whole year. So specifically, it can't be done. What can be done is staff development for principals and assistant principals who can provide oversight, meeting with the faculty so they understand what the standards of those leaders in the schools are. And through the work of John Drake and Carrie Torres at the district office level, all of that can be reinforced with principals. That's the best any school district can do. I've been doing this a long time, 31 years as a superintendent, and I would have said no any other place I served as a superintendent. It's not possible, nor in the organizations where many of you work, is it possible to know exactly what some of your people are saying all the time. The bigger difference in schools is that you're dealing with impressionable young minds, and that's where the rubber hits the road. So we'll do the best we can. I've been tremendously impressed with the professionalism of people in this district. But if you're looking for an ironclad commitment that could never happen again, particularly in the era of social media, TikTok or whatever it might be, can't say. I wish I could say yes, but I cannot. Civility, wonderful comments from the judge. I might only disagree. I would never disagree with the general comments that civility is critical. And by the way, I've always said that the school district board meeting should be a model of government and a model for any student who watches it. I can't say how many times I've said that. I strongly believe in that. I also can tell you that while we had some downturns in that meeting, that I have seen, unfortunately, videos of other places that were far, far worse. So I'm going to generally comment that while it could have been better, no doubt, in general, people behaved quite well with a couple of downturns. CRT, with all due respect to the commentator about the CRT, I have not one piece of evidence that our unions embrace it. I just don't believe that's true. I don't believe the teachers say that. I've never heard anybody say that. And I can tell you that CRT is simply not in the curriculum in this school district, either overt or covert. It's not in the curriculum written, and it's not being done behind the scenes. So, all due respect, I disagree. And finally, as far as curriculum selection is concerned, that was really quite an interesting statement, because I've seen that happen, right? Like, who wrote this thing anyway, right? And it was pretty compelling. I like it when a teacher gets up and starts talking. The end of the story is, I had other things I was going to say, but I want to finish this. I just want to say that, you know, some of us, probably a lot of us, have seen, I never watched it, but I saw it. There's a show called Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Right? Well, when I was listening to Lisa talk about what John Drake did, I think we've now dropped it down into second grade, right? So I think we've lowered our standards as adults in terms of what we can master, and particularly in math. I got to tell you, a lot of parents check out about the sixth grade, and for good reason, because it's just very difficult to master math in general. Finally, I just want to say one thing I was going to say, and that is I could not be more excited for this school district come October 18th, when Wes Smith comes to this district as superintendent. I'm going to go out on a limb, even though the vote hasn't occurred yet, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say his contract is going to be approved tonight. Just as an aside, in addition to being a superintendent a long time, in between leaving Illinois and coming to California, I was president of an executive search firm that did searches around the country for superintendents. So I've seen a lot of these things happen. And I have to tell you, you tell me if I'm right or wrong a couple of years from now, but I'm going to bet that come 2023, 24, after he gets his footing and starts working with everybody, that you're going to say that was a great selection. He's the right fit for this place. And that's my final comment, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Dr. Banks. There was a lot packed into that.
Well, I didn't know what I was going to say until everybody talked. So there you go. That's
what you should.
That's right. Comment on the comments. Let's comment on the comments.
Right. Okay. In our adoption of our agenda, we moved up, and this was before we came back when we opened our meeting in closed session. We moved agenda item
21A.
21A up before item 17. So we are going to move ahead with that. And the item is agenda item requested by a member of the public, adopt a resolution to remove the mask mandate in schools. And we have a member of our public who had asked us just before our August 17th meeting.
That's Chris.
Yes, just before our August 17th meeting to put it on an agenda. Now, when someone in the public asks to put something on the agenda, we will look at it. It may not happen immediately. It would happen within time. This item happens to be very timely and affects the business of our district, so that's why it is on this agenda. So because it's also a comment, Trustee Metoyer, would you?
I don't mind reading it again. I mean, I'll read the stuff.
Read it for agendized item.
Yes, I'll read that. And for anybody who has comments on the rest of the agendized items, this counts for that too. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board regarding items on the regular meeting agenda. Comments on the agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per comment, up to 20 minutes per topic. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another person. Speaker cards for items on the discussion action calendar may be held until that item is considered by the board if the speaker prefers.
Okay, before I call a couple of people who want to speak to this issue, I'm going to call up Chris Jones, who is the public member and a parent in our community, who will present this item. And once again, it's not an item that came from the district, so we did not have this information ahead of time. And I believe you've passed it out to
It's
the
right
public.
here
Okay.
for anyone who would like
Okay,
to
welcome.
receive. Thank you very much. And my understanding from Mr. Bankser is that I had 5 minutes for this evening.
Can you talk
yes?
a little
Okay.
closer into the
Yes.
mic?
Oh, that works.
That's better?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify that I do have 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much. Good evening, Superintendent, President Yelsey, members of the board, and members of this community. My name is Chris Jones. I'm a mother to 4 children, 3 of which who attend the Newport-Mesa Unified School District. I also have a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. I would like to start by thanking you for placing the Let Them Breathe board resolution on tonight's agenda. Mask wearing is a growing concern not only for parents of this community, but nationwide. For more than 18 months, we've dealt with questionable and conflicting advice on masking. In a 2020 email obtained via the Freedom of Information Act, Dr. Fauci stated the typical mask you buy at the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out the virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. In addition, on March 30th, 2020, the executive director of the World Health Organization Emergency Program stated there is no specific evidence to suggest that wearing a mask by the mass population has any particular benefit. So knowing this, why are we masking our children? Wearing a mask creates a visual illusion that brings comfort to those who fear catching the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It is not the responsibility of our children to create comfort to others. It is our responsibility to stand up and ensure that our children are protected. Masks, when worn for more than a brief period of time, are a spectacular breeding ground for harmful bacteria, parasites, and fungi, as confirmed by a study completed in Gainesville, Florida on June 16, 2021. No viruses were detected on the masks, although the test was capable of detecting viruses. The ineffectiveness of masks is most clearly captured by the statement on the box. Warning, this mask is not a respirator. This mask does not eliminate the risk of contracting any disease or infection. Replace if damaged or soiled with blood or other bodily fluids. Have you seen a child's mask after 8 hours? Soiled would be a very polite understatement. The American Institute for Economic Research released an article in April 2021 stating the data suggests that both medical and non-medical face masks are ineffective to block human-to-human transmission of viral and infectious disease, such as SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19, supporting against the use of face masks. Wearing face masks has demonstrated to have substantial adverse physiological and psychological effects. These include decreased oxygen in the blood, excessive carbon dioxide in the bloodstream, shortness of breath, increased acidity and toxicity, activation of fear and stress response, rise in stress hormones, immunosuppression, fatigue, headaches, decline in cognitive performance, predisposition for viral and infectious illnesses, chronic stress, anxiety, and depression. Long-term consequences of wearing face masks can cause health deterioration, developing and progression of chronic illnesses, and premature death. Now knowing this, how can we continue to force our children to wear masks? By wearing a mask, individuals are receiving a medical intervention. In order to receive a medical intervention, a person must be made fully aware of the risks and benefits, otherwise known as informed consent. Are we able to confidently say that parents and guardians are aware of the risks noted above as well as the negligible benefits? At some point, true science, data, and research must prevail. We must identify and acknowledge the psychosocial, mental, and physiological effects mask wearing is having on our children. The school district has recognized that for some students, medical mask exemptions can be completed by a student's physician. However, recently I've been informed by multiple physicians that the California State Medical Board has notified them that if they issue medical mask exemptions, they risk losing their medical license. We understand that there are policies and procedures in place, and we as a community have been doing everything within our power to work within the system to promote change in a positive and effective way. We are tired of asking for permission for our children to breathe, but we will never be too tired to speak up for our children. Collectively, we are mama and papa bears, grandparents, teachers, and members of a community who have watched our children's spirits dwindle over the past 18 months. We are looking at our school board members, superintendents to stand with us and advocate for mask choice in the Newport-Mesa Unified School District, which brings us to why we're here to discuss this agenda item today. Our community needs a voice. Our children need a voice. We now respectfully ask you, as our elected school board members, to do what is within your control, to listen to your community that you represent, and vote to adopt this board of resolution this evening and promote mass choice for our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I have two comments. I have two comments cards on this item, so we'll take that before it comes to the board. Angela Hartz. Angela? Okay. Amy Peters?
Good evening. My name is Amy Peters. I'm a parent of a student in Newport-Mesa Unified School District, and I'm here to speak on the masking of our children. Here's the definition of the deprivation of rights under color of law. U.S. Code Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of Section 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds that officials' lawful authority. If the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties, persons acting under color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others who are acting as public officials. That's you. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by animus toward the race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of the victim. You have decided to force our children to wear a muzzle based on science. You are claiming that the school is hazardous to my child's health and therefore prescribed mask-citing science. Actual science would have you bring in an environmental toxicologist to air sample during class. That environmental toxicologist would tell you if masks are needed. All environmental toxicologists would tell you that masks and face coverings you are prescribing do not work. Those are the mask experts. Therefore, since real science isn't backing your arbitrary power in issuing these mandates, you are violating civil liberties of the children because you believe you can. No one on the board is a certified environmental toxicologist, industrial hygienist. No actual attempts have been made to qualify your statements and actions. Therefore, the actions of the school board, you are interpreted as an attempt to demonstrate dominion over civil liberties. You have gone after our kids. Now we will show you who really has the power. We parents do not abdicate our responsibility as parents to you. You have sworn an oath. Now it is time for you to honor your oath and the Constitution of the United States. You are not above the law. And I have an affidavit of Stephen E. Petty, who's an actual environmental toxicologist. I have a copy for each of you. This has been entered into a federal lawsuit, and there will be more of these. So I brought you all a copy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will go back to the agenda item, which is to adopt a resolution to remove the mask mandate in schools. We all have the resolution that she would like us to adopt in front here. So I would need a motion for this to continue on. Do I have a motion? We have people on Zoom. No motion, okay. Ms. Jones? Please, yes, please come up. What happens if I don't have a motion and if I don't have a motion, the item dies. If I don't have a motion or a second, it dies. So I just want to thank you for the time and effort you've made to come here tonight, to put into this. I know you've had many discussions with Dr. Bangser regarding this, and I appreciate your involvement in our schools. I do have a comment from Trustee Weigand, however.
Okay, thank you. Chris Jones, I want to say thank you so much for advocating for your children. I see you at school all the time, and I just want to say thank you. You know, as a parent, I don't like masks. I don't want my kids to wear masks, but I do have a job to educate our children. And I think our whole board up here has a plan to keep our kids in school the whole entire year. And with the new modified quarantine, if your kid is wearing a mask, you can stay in school if you were a close contact and just test twice at the same time. While I would love to say, no, I can't. You know, I would like us not to have to wear masks. I just can't, because before school started, we did receive a notice from the California Department of Public Health to all the school leaders, and it says, subject is requirement of universal masking indoors through K through 12 schools. And it does state that this can be enforced by law. And sitting up here as a board, we can be subjected to fines or civil enforcement actions by local health officers for refusal to adhere to the mandatory masking directive pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 120175. In fact, Education Code Section 49403 states clearly the governing board of a school district shall cooperate with the local health officer in measures necessary for the prevention and control of communicable diseases in school-age children. While I might not personally agree with this, I have to adhere to this, that this is law, and that I am a governing board of this this body, and I do have to adhere to that. Additionally, I don't like masks, but you know what I don't like even more? Distance learning. My kids didn't learn much at all from distance learning. And so my whole job this year is to keep our kids in school full-time the whole time. But one thing you have in your board resolution that I have to say it is well put together. One thing I definitely agree with is that as a board, you can count on me that I will be committed to assisting schools in returning to normalcy in the classroom as soon as we do have that ability to create a school choice, or a choice for masking. You can count on me that I will be there advocating for you. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I appreciate all of your comments. I appreciate the very complicated world that we all live in. I appreciate the fact that you're sitting there and that a good portion of the time you get sadly negative comments and angry, distressed humans from this side. I'm one of them, but I'm also calm. I'm hopeful, and I feel that at some point this is going to make a positive turn, because for all of our children's sake, that's why we're all here today, is because we have children within the school district and we hope for the best for them. I also hope for in-person learning for the entire school year. I am confused why we can't have both. And I am also confused that because our mayor declared that Newport was no longer in a state of emergency, why we are following mandates that only apply when we're in a state of emergency. Those are a lot of gray areas, and I'm not sure if anyone's able to answer any of those questions. But I do appreciate the point of view from all of you, and I appreciate having the opportunity to have this on the agenda this evening. And I hope at some point there can be a better future for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
Trustee Weigand, thank you for your comments. I think we all agree with them, that we have to look at it through a different lens. And again, our goal is to keep our schools open all day, every day this year. And to do that, we will continue to follow the guidelines that are set before us. Ms. Trustee Wiegand said, if things change, we would change with the change in the guidelines that are given to us. So again, thank you very much for coming tonight. Okay, we're going to move backwards in time to item 18, which is a report on summer school 2021. Mr. Drake, and I believe you have a guest
I do.
presenter with you today.
I do, yes. As you recall, in the really sort of January, February of last year, we asked Dr. Lori Hogard to come from Killybrook Elementary School to take on the enormous task of putting together in a really short, pinched period of time the biggest summer session that we've run in Newport-Mesa possibly ever. I can't say that for sure because I haven't been here forever, but I know for sure within the last 11 years. And so while there are other programs besides the ones that Lori's going to be talking about in relation to summer programs, I have asked her just to focus on those three components that she worked on this year. And then another point, if we want to talk about extended school year and some of the other programs, we can do that. But Dr. Hogard, as you know, did a fantastic job putting this together, and I believe has already started taking steps for this next summer, believe it or not. But I'm going to turn it on over to Dr. Hogard to share some information with you from the programs this summer.
Great, thank you. Good evening, President Yelsey, trustees, Superintendent Bangser, cabinet, staff, and community. Last year, as a board, you provided a clear direction to design programming to meet our students' needs, to address learning loss, and promote readiness for this school year. You were also clear that our summer programs need to foster student social emotional development as well as access to engaging enrichment activities. We designed and implemented the most robust and comprehensive summer program in Newport-Mesa in decades, if ever. This summer, it was about helping our students hit the reset button and launch into a new school year with a renewed sense of confidence and competence. As a district, we offered a wide range of programs for students from preschool through high school, and the total enrollment from all the programs totaled more than 4,000. Summer programs were provided at 16 sites across all 4 zones of our district. This magnitude and scope of programming was made possible because of the incredible commitment and teamwork of our district departments and staff. Summer 2021 was not a typical summer here in Newport-Mesa. Hundreds of our certificated and classified staff served on design teams in the spring, as well as providing instruction and other supports to students throughout the summer. Every division mobilized, as Mr. Drake shared, starting in January, February, to move our plans forward, including education services, business services, human resources, student support services. And in preparing for this presentation, it was really difficult for me to think of a department or a team within a division that was not involved in our summer efforts. So I'm going to list them very quickly alphabetically, and I hope I don't miss anyone. We had our assessment and data analysis team, early childhood education, education technology, English learner services, fiscal services, health services, information technology, maintenance and operations, nutrition services, public information, purchasing and warehouse, special education, special projects, transportation. And as you can imagine, we had to replicate the instructional and operational support that happens during much of our normal school year routine, and everyone rose to the occasion to serve our students. We're very proud of each of the programs that's offered this summer that you can see on the screen and the positive impact of our students. And tonight's presentation will be highlighting the programs that were new to our district this summer. One of my first priorities when I transitioned into a new role in February was to conduct an analysis of our academic progress data, survey our parents and educators, and examine the body of research on effective summer programming so that we could design our models for summer programs. As you may recall, we received quite an extensive amount of survey input from our community and staff, and the input reflected a desire for both academics and enrichment, a high priority on in-person programming, but also providing an online option, and provide social experiences for our students. There were countless narrative comments from families and staff that identified the impact of the pandemic on peer interactions. In fact, one of the words that came up the most in the narrative responses was the word friends. So in response to the data, the survey trends, and the research on summer programming, we designed 3 programs to serve our elementary students. the academic summer session, the enrichment camp, and the online summer learning challenge. All 3 offerings included activities and routines to foster positive social experiences, designed by our amazing SAIL team under the leadership of coordinators Kristen Henry and Sarah Coley. The academic summer session was the largest program offered this summer. Total enrollment was more than 1,700 students at 9 elementary sites across all 4 zones. We had an amazing instructional design team, 27 teachers, 6 TOSAs, and 5 administrators who worked collaboratively to craft the instructional plan. Here are some photos of our students engaged in that learning at summer session. We had 19 days of additional instruction, a focus on English language arts, English language development, and math. Science investigations were incorporated and utilized as a springboard for building student content knowledge, vocabulary, and reading comprehension across all the grade levels. Teachers were provided tools for daily morning meetings, as well as prompts for activities that were intentional friendship builders. In response to our parent survey, as well as the research on high-quality summer programs, we embedded an enrichment block into each school day. This was made possible with the support of our incredible district specialists in music, science, and PE, and supplemented with community partners in order to serve the sheer number of students that came to school across the 9 sites. I want to recognize the organizations that partnered with us in providing summer programming this year. These include Strategic Kids, Brainstorm STEM, Arts and Learning Conservatory, Meet the Masters, Art Masters, and Dr. Patricia's Health Club. I had the privilege to collaborate with each of these outstanding organizations as we developed and implemented the summer programming, and I can say they came alongside our district staff with a really shared commitment to our goals for what our students would be learning and experiencing this summer. I'd like to highlight some of the data from our summer session. Our math instruction in summer session focused on priority instructional content reflected in the standards, with addition and subtraction as a focus for our younger students and fractions for our older students. We provided a math, fact, fluency instructional block each day using research-based strategies to support conceptual understanding as well as helping students see patterns and strategies. Our teachers engaged in professional development with Dr. Valerie Henry of FactsWise throughout the program. At the end of the 19 days of the program, we saw average gains in math fact fluency that ranged between 10% and 49% across grade levels, and also identified gains in the understanding of fractions content with an increase in student performance on the Smarter Balanced interim assessment. One of the priorities of summer session was for our students to build positive relationships with each of their students and utilize daily observation as a formative assessment strategy that they could build on their student learning from day to day. During the last days of summer instruction, summer teachers provided observational notes for each student that was shared with the receiving teacher in the fall through the Mr. Elmer Intervention Compass system. Here's just a few samples of the types of comments that were provided to the school year teacher. Student has learned to ask great questions during ELA and explain her thinking in math. Student learned the value of studying new vocabulary when reading a novel. Student grew tremendously in his multiplication math facts and was even able to teach them to others. Was interested in books we were reading, and this helped him improve his comprehension skills. One of the highlights in our data analysis was the surveys. It was really important for us to hear directly from our students about their experiences so that we could understand the impact that went even beyond the academics. When we asked our students to share their favorite things about summer session, the top 5 in order: PE, time with friends, art, math, and science. One of our goals was to intentionally foster positive interactions and create a context for our students to build friendships. And so the most popular response to the question, how many friends did you make at summer session, was 5 and 5+. And that was the maximum amount on our multiple choice response options. We also asked our students to provide narrative responses to the questions, what did you learn that will help you in the coming school year? And these were the top 5 as we analyzed the narrative responses. Students said math, fractions, multiplication and division, chess, which was one of our enrichment activities, and of course, making friends. Our parent and staff surveys provided a lot of valuable data to us as well. When asked about the benefits for their students, the top 3 responses of our parents were time in a structured school setting, which we didn't have as much of over the course of the last school year, math, and time with friends. Staff reported the top benefits for students as math, English language arts, and time with peers. One of the patterns that came out in our staff survey was a lot of appreciation for our program staff, including our administrative interns and our instructional coaches. Each summer session site was led by an administrative intern with the support of an instructional coach. This was an amazing cadre of our own teacher leaders and aspiring administrators that I had the privilege to lead and mentor in the months leading up to the program as well as during the program. In addition to the incredible impact for our students, our summer programs also provided an opportunity to develop these aspiring school leaders and coaches, as well as provide our teachers and classified staff the opportunity to work in perhaps a different grade level or a different classification than they do during the school year. And there were numerous comments in the staff survey about the value of this experience for their own professional growth and helping them envision next steps in their career paths. Our second largest program of the summer was Elementary Enrichment Camp. More than 1,000 students enrolled in the 2-week enrichment camp offered at 4 sites, 1 in each zone. Students were able to choose between 3 focus areas: arts, sports, or STEM camp. And in the spring, a very talented and creative team of our district specialists in music, science, and PE served on a design team to craft what this experience would look like for our students for the 2 weeks. Students in arts camp participated in experiences with hands-on art using materials that they might not always use during the school year, such as pastels and paints and clay, musical theater, and instrumental music. At sports camp, our students engaged in a variety of sports and team activities, including soccer, basketball, lacrosse, relays, and many other activities. It was really hard to get them off of the field. Students in STEM camp enjoyed a range of science experiences, including hands-on engineering projects. They built things like shelters and boats and rockets, as well as experiencing coding and robotics. Classes in all 3 focus areas had common routines for their opening meetings and friendship builders, again supported by Kristen Henry and the Newport-Mesa SAIL team. We asked our students to share their favorites of enrichment camp, and here are the top 5. Recess, time with friends, and they shared about a variety of specific enrichment activities, including robotics, ukulele, art, sports, musical theater. It was actually difficult to find an activity that they didn't like to take it off the list for future years. How many friends did they make? Again, the most common response was 5 and 5+. In our parent survey for enrichment camp, parents shared that the benefits for their students getting to engage in this wide range of enrichment activities that we offered, time in the structured school program, and making new friends. And we asked them, what did your kids share with you when they came home? And the top response was friends. They also shared that they really liked the variety of things that they were doing. In the narrative responses from parents, when we asked from a parent perspective what was the best thing about enrichment camp, parents talked about the exciting activities. They talked about happy children, social opportunity, and really appreciated that this was provided to them at no cost. When we asked our staff about the best thing for enrichment camp, our staff recognized that they really love to see our students having fun, providing them opportunities for all of these different enrichment activities, socializing with peers, and the teamwork of the staff. I had the opportunity to spend the entire enrichment camp on a site to ensure that we had enough administrative coverage, and I was able to experience the magic of enrichment camp for our students firsthand. I got to see the smiles, students walking out to parent pickup, holding their art projects and their rockets, and then seeing staff who had not worked together before come together as a unified team in a very short period of time to provide this positive and engaging experience for students. And that was an exciting part of enrichment camp as well. Our third elementary program that was new this year was our online summer learning challenge. Dr. Mishny and an incredible team of EdTech Tech-TOSAs and lead tech teachers designed an online learning experience for students that spanned 8 weeks. We provided self-paced online learning with weekly Zoom sessions with a teacher for each grade level. The online program used the Alludo platform for our older students, which was really motivating, allowing our students to earn points for completing activities along the way. In surveying our students, they loved the Zoom time, and the top response to what will help you next year, what did you learn that will help you, was math. The parents appreciated the flexible format and the opportunity to continue learning over the summer months. We also expanded our summer programming for our secondary students this summer. Our secondary administrator teams worked with their site teams to analyze student needs and provide additional instructional time for credit recovery, as well as promoting readiness for their coursework in this coming school year. Each site principal crafted a plan to provide programming for their students. Our principals who did not host worked closely with our summer planning efforts to connect their students with district-wide offerings. So in a typical summer, there may be 1 or 2 smaller programs for secondary students offered at a few sites. But this summer, we provided our students programming at all 4 comprehensive high school sites and all 4 middle school sites through the site-based extended learning academies. We had close to 1,000 secondary students participate in summer academic programming, and this is in addition to the many summer experiences that sites offer students in every typical summer, including athletics, ASB and club activities, and student orientation and welcome events. Each of our 4 middle schools provided a middle school bridge program. This was a 2-week experience to bridge students into their new school year with an academic boost. Teams of teachers and administrators worked to design these experiences, targeting specific skills and routines in English language arts, English language development, and math, to front-load our students and set them up for success in their first month of school. The middle school bridge also incorporated organizational skills that students need in a middle school setting, such as organizing their materials and time management to be prepared for multiple classes, as well as acclimating our incoming 7th grade students to the middle school campus. A highlight of our middle school summer bridge was our work with Vanessa Sarahoglu, math coordinator at Orange County Department of Education. She helped us to plan our math instruction to address major work of the grade, leveraging student strengths and engaging our students in really exciting inquiry tasks and math language routines that kept them coming back each day to middle school summer school. And coordinator Sarah Hoglu also supported during the summer bridge with on-site coaching. Our 4 comprehensive high schools each provided programming to students. The site teams built upon their extensive efforts during the school year in providing credit recovery. Administrators, counselors, and teachers work together to analyze individual student needs and connect students with the right coursework to get them back on track or stay on track for graduation. Additional supports on campuses were provided to continue to connect students with wellness and mental health resources, as well as academic, college, and career counseling. A great example of the power of summer support systems that were put in place was a system at Costa Mesa High School. Dr. Haley and his site team provided the academic courses as well as an intensive support system that included several individual meetings with each student. The summer support team at Mesa rallied around each student to ensure that they had a great summer experience, to ensure they were there every day in the seat, and they planned with them for their fall courses and their long-term goals for college and career. The team at Mesa consisted of the school community facilitator, social worker, college and career specialist, and administrator. So I'd like to acknowledge the impressive efforts of our secondary teams. They crafted programs to address many, many needs, including the range of courses that students need, students who needed multiple courses, and scheduling for students who work in summer jobs. Our secondary teams succeeded in providing programs to help our oldest students hit their reset button and get back on that path that they envisioned for themselves before the pandemic hit. In total, we had 611 high school students complete summer courses, and some students completed more than one course. So collectively, our high school students successfully earned credits for a total of 897 courses. We've already begun the planning process for summer of 2022. It's our goal to build upon what we were able to do this summer and use what we learned to plan for the upcoming summer. So we're using our data and surveys to refine our program models for service delivery. We're currently finalizing a monthly plan that outlines action steps for each month leading up to the summer. And we also plan to utilize the data that we collect over the course of the year to customize our offerings. So as we monitor our student academic and social development over the course of the year, we can customize our instruction and programs and services for summer. So I'd like to thank you for providing me with the opportunity to lead the design and implementation of our summer programs this year. After serving the Newport-Mesa community for 22 years and leading schools and programs in all 4 zones, I can honestly say that this endeavor was a highlight in my experience as an educator and a leader. After seeing the impact of the pandemic on our students, it was really an honor to lead these efforts to provide students with extended instructional time and positive social opportunities that I hope set the stage for a really successful new school year for our students. Thank you again for the opportunity.
And we thank you for leading the program. I think we're all really excited about the opportunity that we gave our kids this summer. It was the most robust program that we've had, I know, since I've been here, which is 15 years. And it's pretty amazing what we offered to our students. And the fact that they had so much fun that kept coming up and being with friends, I think that's very telling too after last year. So it was nice. For those of us who had the opportunity to go out and visit, I think we saw the smiles on their faces, even behind their masks in school. Trustee Metoyer.
I have to be honest, because I've worked with Dr. Hogard for quite some time, and I was the administrator in charge of the summer science program for many years back in the day, and it is a wonderful opportunity to get your toe into the, do I want to be an administrator? How does it work? It's a great opportunity. But after seeing this report, I am so impressed with the outcomes, the fact that we totally worked with the whole child. We didn't work with the whole child, we celebrated the whole child. The academic progress that was made, the confidence that was built, the friends that were made. So now my question is going to go to Mr. Trader. Can we afford to do this again? Because, yeah, thumbs up, excellent. Because this is too good to say, well, we did it just because of COVID, when this is such a phenomenal opportunity. And we didn't even touch on our ESY or credit recovery, which is also spectacular. I've got goosebumps. I totally feel like I have bragging rights when I go to delegate assembly. And I want to thank you because I know the dedication that you made, the outreach you did with all of the community partners, our several departments. You were aware of it from the beginning, that it wasn't just, let's figure out what we're going to do. It's no, we get the team together. I can't thank you enough. And I thank staff for picking Dr. Hogard to lead this project. Well done, everyone.
Trustee Wagon.
Yeah, I just want to thank you from experiences firsthand. It was amazing. You had to create a whole district over the summer or for the summer program, and I thought it was phenomenal. I'd love to see this next year too, and I do know from experience that I think that the outcomes that students or what they learned last summer really helped them in the beginning of this year. I also would love to see data to see as well as how did those students that did the summer program, now how are they performing in class this year with their first Acadience test? I would love to see those, some data on how they performed from, or what the ones that went to summer school, and then how they performed on their Acadians data to see if they're at grade level, or how much higher we got our kids with that summer program, for instance. So if last year they were below grade level, are they now achieving at grade level? Just to see the how well that the program works, and if there's any way we tweak it to even be better for next year. But I just want to say thank you so much for all that you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was spectacular.
Yes, it was excellent. It was excellent. It was fun to watch.
We did not have any doubts knowing that you were in charge of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. One more round of applause. We'll move on to item 19, consent calendar. Trustee Metoyer.
I read.
You read that for everything?
I read the agenda statement.
Okay.
So everything that we said before on agenda items applies to this.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt the consent calendar. Do I have to say as amended because we moved as amended?
Do I have a second?
Trustee
I know, but
Ursulou.
I was going to,
Yep.
if I get a
She
second.
requests, do you see that?
Okay, you want to speak before I get a second? Okay. Trustee Ursulou.
Hi, do I need to request to pull the item before it's, or do I wait until the motion?
Yes.
Okay, then can I request that we pull item 19A3 to discussion action?
So the motion would be to approve the consent calendar with moving item 19A3
To discussion action and item 21A, whatever, to the front, or was that not on the consent
we already
calendar?
did that.
Okay, so I will now amend my motion to say, I approve that moving item 19A3 to discussion action and approving the rest of the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any other comments about discussion action? Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Metoyer, seconded by Trustee Barto. Roll call?
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Metoyer?
Yes.
Trustee Weigand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Okay.
Student board member?
Not for
consent calendar?
Not for consent.
Okay, sorry, Sophia, I was trying.
Okay, consent calendar is approved. We will move 19A3 to the end of discussion action. Item 20, public hearing, action calendar. 20A, public hearing disclosing the provisions of the 2021-2022 tentative collective bargaining agreement with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 18. Mr. Trader, would you like to make a comment before I open the hearing?
In accordance with Board Policy and AB 1200, the district is disclosing the cost of the tentative agreement as $4,932,462 with the certification that the district can meet that obligation.
Okay. I am opening the hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Don't all rush to the podium. Okay, seeing no one, I will close the hearing. 20B, approved tentative agreement and MOUs between the Newport-Mesa Unified School District and California School Employees Association and its Newport-Mesa chapter number 18, 2021-2022. Mrs. Olson.
Yes, thank you very much. So we're very pleased to bring this item to you tonight. On August 6th, the district reached a TA with CSEA to close the reopeners for the 21-22 school year. Again, doing it early in the year, which was wonderful. And it has gone through the 610 process with our classified unit, and they voted on it, and so then we bring it to you. both teams, I must say, worked very, very hard on this agreement. And we sought to understand each other's interests. There's some intense moments, certainly at the table, but we came out with a wonderful product. I do want to highlight for folks some of the portions of the agreement. The health and welfare benefits, there is an increase to the district costs with no increase to our full-time employee monthly contribution, as well as there is a decrease to the percentage of premium required by our part-time employees. There is a minimum guarantee of 25 hours per week for our bus drivers, which I think we've heard about for some time, so we're very pleased with that. And in addition to that, both teams worked really hard to clarify contract language and created a new article that will help us with interpreting and moving forward in our contract management. So very, very pleased with that. And then the 3.6% salary increase, as well as acknowledging the difficult year that we all endured last year, and with a $1,000 stipend for our full-time employees and a $500 stipend for part-time or those who worked less than 50% of the year. And so we're really pleased with this package that is brought forward to you, and it could not have come to fruition without the hard work of both teams. So I do want to acknowledge our teams and our CSEA team. I said our. I guess it's their, but it's ours. Caught myself there. So led by their president, Pam Saunders, and then Stu Tedford, Sean Katz, Gary Logan, Troy Hall, Amy Gonzalez. And then our Newport district team, we have Sarah Jochum, Becky Gogol, Lance Bidnick, Shoshana Nakano also stepped in as substitute when some of the team couldn't be there, and then Kristen Clark as advisory. So we really are pleased to bring this forward to you and would ask that you approve the TA with CSEA to close out the negotiations for 21-22.
Thank you. We are excited for this to come to us as well. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And Trustee Crane would like to second.
Would you rather have moved it, Trustee Crane?
No, I would just love to be able to second it. Great job, everyone.
The motion to approve, Trustee Metoyer, second by Trustee Crane. Roll call vote.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Metoyer?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson? Yes. Trustee Crane?
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move to discussion action 21B. Approve addition to the high and middle school course of study, civil engineering and architecture. Ms. Torres.
Yes, we're pleased to bring this before you this evening. We have the opportunity to approve an additional course for grades 7 through 12 in our district. And we are focusing on our CTE pathways, and we're excited to bring to you tonight engineering and architecture. This class was originally brought forward so that Cloud would have additional electives. However, once approved, this course can be applied to any of our schools in grades 7 through 12.
Terrific. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Wiegand, seconded by Trustee Anderson. Any further discussion?
I just have a quick question. So since it's approved for Cloud, I'm assuming
Yes.
it's an online course. But all of our schools can use it.
Yes, and actually
That's
we can
exciting.
Yes, and we can have a regular class as well. We just are we were looking to expand opportunities for Cloud, and so it also exists in a digital format, but can also be applied to a traditional classroom.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it was moved by Trustee Wiegand, seconded by Trustee Anderson, and we now will have a vote from our student board member.
Student Board Member Sofia Catania?
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Metoyer?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson? Yes. Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Okay, we are really excited about the next item, which is 21C, approve the
Yes.
employment agreement for superintendent between the Board of Education of Newport-Mesa Unified School District and Dr. Wesley Smith. And
I
We're
was
just
saying
trying
that
not to all.
I'll stop approving things. I was trying to get
they're going to rush to see who's going to make the motion. Before we do, I'm going to read the recommended motion and make comments, because I think we want everyone to know exactly what's happening here. So the recommended motion is to approve the employment agreement of superintendent between the Board of Education of Newport-Mesa Unified School District and Dr. Wesley Smith, dated September 14, 2021. Compensation and benefits will be funded by the district's general fund and are summarized in this agenda item. A copy of the proposed employment agreement is attached to the agenda item, and people can find that online. The background of this is we conducted a nationwide search. Members of the Board of Education are pleased to announce the selection of Dr. Wesley Smith as the superintendent of Newport-Mesa Unified School District. Dr. Smith's employment will commence October 18th, 2021. Currently, Dr. Smith is the Executive Director of the Association of California School Administrators, or ACSA, and has worked extensively throughout the state in all aspects of public education. Previously, Dr. Smith was superintendent for the Cascade Union Elementary School District and Morgan Hill Unified School District. His extensive experience includes service as a school administrator, as a principal and assistant superintendent, teaching at both the secondary, community college, and graduate school levels. Dr. Smith's Doctor of Education degree is from the University of Southern California, Rossier School of Education. Approval of the employment agreement will provide: 1, the leadership role and responsibilities for the superintendent, chief executive officer, and secretary to the Board of Education. 2, the term will be from October 18th, 2021 to June 30th, 2025. The annual salary for the superintendent will be $355,000 with health and welfare benefits commensurate with all employees. The superintendent will be reimbursed for reasonable moving expenses in an amount not to exceed $20,000 and will receive the same transportation allowance, $650 per month, and communications allowance, $100 per month, provided to other executive staff members. An annual performance evaluation will be completed by June of each year of the employment agreement. So, we are very excited. I will let someone make a motion and second, and then we can
I
go.
would like to move to approve the employment agreement for superintendent between Board of Education of Newport-Mesa Unified School District and Dr. Wesley Smith.
Second.
Okay. This is a roll call vote. And we have a student board member vote in on this? Okay.
Ooh.
Historic.
I hope, Trustee Bartow, you gave them some background information.
I did.
Okay.
Student Board Member Sofia Catania.
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Trustee Bartow.
Yes.
Trustee Metoyer.
Yes.
Trustee Wigand.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou.
Yes.
So I just want to highlight that it is a 7-0 vote. And
8 if you count Sophia.
8, and we count Sophia. And I know Dr. Smith will be very interested in meeting with the student board members because everything to him is about the students. So I know they will also be excited to have that first meeting. But we are very excited, and to me, it was real important that we find someone that all of us up here as trustees like and feel we can work with, and it was important for us to find someone that, especially cabinet, who will report to Dr. Smith, and we took that very seriously when we were thinking about candidates and who we were talking to. And I believe everyone in our district and community will feel the same way about him after they meet him, and he definitely will be out meeting everybody. I think he'd like to start doing it today if he could, but he has obligations to his current position, and that's why his start date is October 18th. And I don't want to diminish at all what Dr. Bangser has done while he is here. We have really not only appreciated everything you've done for us, but I think we've also enjoyed being around you, learning from you, hearing of things that have happened in other districts you've worked with.
I want to officially say I do not feel diminished.
Okay, we know you could handle it. So we are just very excited to have Dr. Smith join our team, and will come fairly soon. So would anybody? We have Trustee
Anderson. It's
okay,
actually
Trustee Anderson is sitting at Trustee Crane's seat.
Right.
So I will. Trustee Anderson.
Thanks. I'm just so excited and thankful for this decision. One of the reasons I ran for school board was for a superintendent like this, and for us to unanimously agree is huge. And so I'm so excited to have Dr. Smith start with us. There are so many items that I know I personally had on my wish list, and he meets all of them. And I think a bridge builder and someone who really connects with the community well, who's bilingual, who has deep experience in elementary. There's so many pieces that for me are really important. So I'm so excited for him to start. Yeah.
And I also want to give a thank you to our search team, which was Leadership Associates, and they've been at several of our meetings to report back. And when we started with them, they gave us a timeline of what it would take to find a superintendent. And we have been able to follow that timeline and stay on schedule from day one. So I really want to thank the entire team at Leadership Associates for being involved in our search. They provided a great service to us. Anyway, thank you. And Dr. Smith, I know is watching this meeting, so we're excited. We're excited for you to come down here and start working with us. And I know there will be some overlap. He will be in town to work with Dr. Bangser before he leaves. And that will be really beneficial as well. So thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 21D, which is approve a memorandum of understanding between the Newport-Mesa Unified School District and the Newport-Mesa Federation of Teachers regarding conclusion of reopener negotiations for 2021-2022. Ms. Olson.
Yes, thank you very much. I think most people will recall that we actually brought forward a TA that was approved at our last meeting. And in that, there was an MOU attached to the TA with NMFT that stated that if any other group were to receive a higher salary or an increase in the health and welfare benefit costs, that we would have the opportunity to negotiate that portion of it. And so as the board has now approved the CSEA TA, in that there was a benefit for part-time employees with health and welfare benefits. And so in collaboration with NMFT and discussion, we reached an MOU that is before you tonight. And the agreement mirrors the rates of the CSEA agreement to have the same benefit for part-time certificated staff. And so with that, we ask the board to approve the MOU with NMFT, and that will conclude the reopener negotiations for 21-22 with NMFT. And we do thank NMFT for their collaboration with us.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Metoyer, seconded by Trustee Anderson. Roll call vote.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Trustee Barto.
Yes.
Trustee Metoyer.
Yes.
Trustee Wagan.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson. Yes. Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou.
Yes.
Okay, item 21E, approve the 2020-2021 unaudited actual report. Mr. Trader.
Good evening, the moment you've all been waiting for, right? Okay, so interestingly, once upon a time, there was a school district, and this school district had reliable and straightforward forecasts. And then a serious virus came to town, and that was the end of those reliable and straightforward forecasts. So, but there's more to the story. You run a very, how do you say, far-flung, substantial organization. It has an annual budget approaching $500 million. And so I hope this, our time together tonight won't put you to sleep, but rather will allow you to sleep soundly every night, knowing that your numbers are prepared in accordance with the state accounting manual, with the law, with best practice. And so if we can accomplish that tonight, then we will be successful. So let's get into it. So you are required by law to approve the unaudited actuals. And so that tonight you're going to do that. And what we're saying is this is a snapshot as of June 30th of what the district's financials are. And it's in conformance with the state accounting manual. It's subject to audit. Your auditors will have the last word, and they'll bring that to you in December. And we have a wonderful, strong professional working relationship with your auditors. They have unfettered access to all of our records. There will be an annual report filed with the state, and the 21-22 beginning fund balances will be adjusted accordingly. So let's buckle up and get ready to blast into the galaxy of numbers. So here we are, enrollment. For many years, the district had very stable enrollment, really stable. But since 2014-15, we've experienced a decline in enrollment, and that decline is accelerating. And but that's consistent with what other districts are experiencing. So we aren't unique in that regard. But it's something that you should be aware of, and that's happening. It's a trend. And then so let's look at revenue. So when we compare revenue, we're going to look at estimated actuals, which is the budget just in May, June that we come to you with, that kind of estimates where we're going to end up at. And so we hopefully would expect to be very close. Our unrestricted revenue was higher by 0.23%, and our restricted revenue was higher than expected by 4.5%. So when we look at our June adoption, there's where we are. First interim, we come up on the unrestricted side and restricted side. And so you see there this pattern that happens. And here we come in at unaudited actual right there. So you can see that revenue, we missed the target by quite a bit. And that was mainly because we had a number of state and federal programs that were pushed in mid-year. And when we began the year, we just didn't realize, we didn't know how much support we were going to get. And fortunately, the state and federal governments have supported us substantially to address COVID. So it's a good thing. So let's take a look now at revenue, or when you look at the beginning of the year, June adoption to unaudited actual, and you can see that yes, 5.8% on revenue side, and again, that's mostly because of property taxes on the unrestricted side. At the beginning of the year, we thought, what is COVID going to do to our property values? Mm-hmm. And property values have stayed robust, which is really good news. And on the restricted side, this is an unheard of number. Oh my goodness. We exceeded expectation by 70%. So I don't know quite what to say about that. I just need
Thank you. Thank you, works. Yeah.
So Jeff, maybe you could just talk a little bit about what is within that restricted revenue category, so it might illuminate the 70% figure a bit.
Yes. So in that restricted thank you, Dr. Bangser. In that restricted category is all of the federal ESSER money and the other COVID associated money, the state money that came to us, and it was substantial. And multiple programs with multiple end dates and multiple regulations.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kept us busy, very busy. So looking at expense, when we look at compare estimate actual to unaudited actuals, our unrestricted expense was lower by 0.23%, and our restricted expense was lower by 7.1%. And again, this was a moving target. We were moving really quickly during COVID, and sometimes it was, for example, you heard Dr. Hogard's presentation on summer program, trying to figure out, what that was going to cost, and that it was like building the airplane while it was in flight. So we missed our restricted expense by a little bit more than we would have liked to have done. So with that, we had encroachment and transfers out impacts. When we look at this, we're noticing that transfers out increased substantially. You can see that throughout the year there. And that was a decision made to support the year 24-25 when all of this one-time money goes away. So we wanted to be thoughtful in that regard and provide for a soft landing if needed in that regard. And so, and then actually our support for restricted programs decreased a little bit. And that, again, that's primarily because of all of this push-in of other money that was that we had going on. So then let's look at our ending fund balance. Our ending fund balance on the unrestricted side it went up by $6 million. And again, that the district is a bit different than perhaps a LCFF funded district. We are community funded. And with that comes a cash dry period between July and December. And so we recognize that when the state gets in trouble, we are their credit card. And they will go to us first, and they will borrow billions of dollars from school districts. And so we need to be careful to make sure that we have enough cash to continue operations and not have to go to outside sources to borrow that money, because that requires a lot of money and a lot of effort. And so we try not to do that. So we keep a balance there to help with cash flow. And then our restricted ending fund balance went up by $8.6 million. And that's essentially because we're receiving a lot of money in this year, or in that year, 2021, that's going to be expended over multiple years. And it was designed to be that way. So we are going to see an increase in the ending fund balance, and that will go down as we go over the next 3 years. So, but the good thing is that our unrestricted general fund reserves are approaching best practice. Best practice is 17%, and right now last year we closed the year at 2021 with 16.7%. So that's a great accomplishment. The majority of our expenditures are, of course, spent on instruction and pupil services, which is the way it should be. And in summary, we're looking at our unaudited actuals being strong. It's a strong financial perspective. Our enrollment decline is continuing. There's more resources going into the special interventions and psychological services, student services, those kinds of things. And our end funding balance is approaching the best practice. And so with that, I want to thank our staff. You have a very dedicated staff that put all of these numbers together. It takes a lot of effort, and we recommend approval.
Trustee Anderson.
Thank you very much, Jeff. This is great. I was wondering, in looking through some of this, it's very condensed. Our actual budget of 196 pages. Thank you so much for putting it all together. I was wondering, and I know I've asked this in the past, when there's items on there that say other, I'm always like, what does other mean? I want more information. And so I was just wondering if it would be possible to summarize or put together all of those other funds items into 1 or 2 pages and make it maybe a brief summary and then print it out for us so we could have that as well. Because I'm really interested in that. And I think one of the other things for me that I'm interested, I know there's Fund 40 is where there are some kind of building items, so that I know that sometimes is a little bit tricky to find the detail. And the capital intensive projects that it looks like we transferred money out, so I just want to know kind of itemized what that looks like. So if we could get that, that would be really helpful.
I appreciate that suggestion. That's wonderful. I'll send that through at Dr. Bangser's office tomorrow morning.
Sure.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, we do.
Trustee Crane
thank
asked
you.
to move.
She has to move? Okay. Moved by trustee Crane. Do I have a second?
Second.
There you go.
Moved by trustee Crane, seconded by trustee Wigan. Roll call vote.
Student Board Member Sofia Catania.
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Trustee
Yes.
Trustee Matoye.
Yes.
Trustee Wigan.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou.
Yes.
Thank you. And we know you have to keep track of all those different budgets. So your job has gotten tougher. You may have more money, but it's gotten tougher to keep those all in the right category. And we thank you for that. 21F, first reading and adoption of modifications to Board Policy 6158, independent study. Ms. Torres.
Yes, so this policy is in front of you this evening. It is required to be revised. As you may know, with the COVID-19 situation, all school districts in California under AB 130 are required to provide an alternative setting for any student whose family or whose student feels that they cannot be participatory in a traditional school setting. And so that would be an independent study program. And so the legislature encouraged all school districts to update the independent study policy based upon CSBA's recommendations. And that's what you have in front of you this evening. For historical perspective, our school district had not updated the independent study policy since 2009. And so it had been a little while, so it was good to just dust off the cobwebs anyways and just make it more current. For those of you unfamiliar with independent study, there are 2 different types. There's short-term and long-term. AB 130 and this policy really speaks to the long-term independent study program, so students who are permanently placed in independent study or who will be participating at least for 15 days or more. The big changes that came down this year were to really encourage school districts and require us to ensure that we had contracts with parents, there was additional parent notification, and then again, any students in long-term independent study, 15 days or more, would be receiving live instruction either daily or weekly, depending on their grade spans. We're able to accomplish that through our cloud campus that we have. We have a K-12 cloud campus, which allows any student who's interested in long-term independent study to receive their education there. And then we also have Back Bay, who provides a more traditional independent study program that we have there too. So we're very well prepared for this. We were very fortunate to have planned for it. And this board policy just reflects those changes. We did have input from multiple board members, and so we do have the latest version in front of you this evening.
Well, I have no problem putting forth the motion since I went through it with a fine-tooth comb. So I move that we approve, actually, let me think if I can remember it. I move that we I'll say it wrong, but you'll know what I mean. I move that we adopt the modifications to Board Policy 6158 independent study and waive the second reading. I did it right.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Trustee Crane, Trustee Ursulou, I'm not forgetting you. Are you okay? Okay. Motion by Trustee Metoyer, seconded by Trustee Anderson to adopt the modification of Board Policy 6158 independent study and waive
The second reading.
Student Board Member Sofia Catania.
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Trustee Barto.
Yes.
Trustee Metoyer.
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson. Yes. Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou.
Yes.
Okay, we are now moving on, or we're moving back to bring item 19A3 to the discussion action calendar, which is approve the master agreement with SafeWorks CM for construction management services for the Estancia Theater project. And Trustee Ursulou pulled this off, so I will let her speak as to why she pulled it off.
Yes, thank you, President Yelsey. I am, given that it's around 8:30 already, and I know we still have a full agenda of resolutions, I was interested in pulling that item from the consent calendar for several reasons, but more so that we can have a more in-depth discussion about the Estancia Theater program budget before getting into any construction contracting agreements. So a construction management firm sort of signals the end of that design phase and moving into that construction phase. And from my vantage point, we still haven't received an updated post-COVID budget, baseline budget for the project. So in good faith, I am worried about spending a contract amount that nears $1 million when we still don't understand the full scope of the actual budget, and we're operating from a pre-COVID budget for the project. But also just given that, you know, supply issues have shifted and many other budgetary elements, I think it's important that we just take a breather, take a pause. And as we saw in our previous, one of the previous items we just voted on, the contract of our new incoming superintendent, Dr. Smith, I feel that as we move into that construction phase, he should be firmly planted here and be privy to all the presentations and all the information moving forward, rather than kind of rushing this end phase move to that out of design into construction. So for those reasons, I would just respectfully ask that we can take a breather, a little breather, not a long one. I want the theater. We all want a theater. That's not the issue. The issue is just taking a breather, taking a pause. We've been doing so much COVID stuff, so much pandemic related things, to just pause, come back to where this project is at, get a nice presentation on the current budget, a current cost estimate of where we're really at, and also any pandemic element changes that needed to change. I know ASHRI submitted their new guidelines for theaters that came out, I believe, last summer. So I'm curious how that's integrated into the design of this theater. So there's just a lot of remaining questions that we don't have time to get into right now. It's more of a presentation that I would request from Mr. Holcomb's team, and then a deeper discussion with all of us at a later time, which is not tonight. So thank you.
Okay, Trustee Metoyer?
I was going to wait to see if anybody else had anything to say.
Trustee Wiegand?
So I would like to see what the new budget, or what the budget is for the theater, just because if anyone has dealt with any kind of remodeling or anything lately, and including my own business, costs have skyrocketed for everything. So I just want to make sure that, I just want to see, it was $32 million 2 years ago, but I want to see what we think that's going to look like right now, just because it is a lot of money, and I just want to make sure we're okay with that. So I definitely like the theater. I think it's great. I just want to see what the new budget's going to be. So
go ahead, Trustee Metoyer.
Yeah, first of all, I have a very strong background in construction, and nothing's ever the same from the time you envision it till the time it's done. However, I know that that's also been built into how we do it. We cannot project to the penny the end of a project till it's over, number one. And I do believe that the cost estimates for what we are paying for right now did take into consideration what the cost of what we're doing on this approval, master agreement, thank you very much, is what it was. I can't delay this theater any longer. We've delayed it over and over just because of life and things that have come up. And the Estancia students that were participating in it and wanting it are going to be coming back to see other Estancia students in it because they will have long graduated. And the way things are looking right now, it seems like they could have their own children coming to school. I don't want to delay any part of the theater at this time. But as far as the total costs, that what'll happen, I think by the time construction starts, I'm optimistic, but I'm hoping some of these delays will go away because the delays are because we don't have the materials or they're not coming in, and that's getting itself worked out. All those container ships are out in the harbor, and I would like to see that happen. I just personally, being one of the other Costa Mesa representatives, feeling terrible for the Estancia community. They need their theater as soon as possible, and I don't want to delay it for anything. And this is not something that I think needs to have massive discussion, this particular agreement.
Now, I know we have other lights, which I can call on you now if you'd like, or I can ask Mr. Holcomb to come up and answer some of the questions that people have. What would you
Sure,
prefer?
that'd be great.
Or do you want?
I think that would be fine. I think we might have questions that are bigger than that, than a couple minutes.
Well, you can take
think,
more than a couple
like,
minutes.
for me, for instance, before I can make a decision on this, I would like to see the estimated cost analysis now that we have all of the supply chain delays and inflation and yes, there was some contingency built in, but that was 2.5 years ago. And we have asked a few times for updated information and we have not received it. So the delay, in my mind, is not necessarily the board delaying. For me, there are some significant issues that we still haven't seen, including apparently there's $5 million that is perhaps allocated for a fence. And when I talk to students, when I've talked to staff at Estancia, they've never even heard of that. They have no idea what the fence could possibly look like, if it's the whole. But there's a lot of unanswered questions that continue to remain. We are still involved in a lawsuit, which again, we haven't gotten an update on what that is. And I know there's some feeling that, we can proceed despite that. I don't share that perspective. So for me, I would like to delay this until we have an estimated cost analysis now. If we started this project with 28 million, it was taxpayer money. We've already spent $1 million. It's already over budget at 32 million, and we haven't broken ground.
Well,
So
the longer we
delay it, the more it'll cost.
The more it's going to cost. That's with any of the projects coming forth. I would like to call Mr. Holcomb up to address some of the questions that have been raised, if you can.
Yes. So the first part, to clarify that it may be a misunderstanding here, is that the construction manager is not the contractor. The construction management agreement here is a staff augmentation services agreement. We have a very lean facilities department because the number of district facilities projects fluctuates greatly. The amount of staff time needed to support those projects fluctuates greatly. And so this district has, for many years, long before I came here, always adopted the approach of hiring construction managers as staff augmentation to assist Ms. Zarestny's team in doing the types of things that are necessary to manage projects. So I just wanted to clarify that part. This is not a construction manager who is going to be a builder. This is a construction manager who is providing oversight and project management types of services. This project has been moving along your schedule that the board has been communicating with us over the last number of years, and we're now at that point when it's getting ready to be time to really get the final estimates, which are in progress now, so that we know for sure what it will cost before we commit to construction contracts. All of those types of things are an additional level of effort that requires some additional staff time to help Ms. Zaresny and her staff to be able to keep this project moving along on the schedule that we've been trying to keep for this project. And in spite of COVID over these last little while, we've tried to maintain that schedule the very best that we can, the schedule and the costs. And we're right now looking at those to try to get to that place very soon in the next couple of months to be able to give you a prediction of what the final costs or what we predict the final cost of the project will be and what the final completion schedule will be. And this is a key, important team that's necessary to assist Ms. Zaresny and her department in keeping this on that schedule.
So as with any project, we would move along this course to get to the final number.
That's correct.
And this, I think we all have to remember that this project has already been approved. It's not something that
Right.
we're going back and rehashing again. This project has been approved to move forward. So I think we also need to take that into consideration. Trustee Barto, did you?
Yes, I had three questions specific to this contract. One is there in the rates, I noticed that there's a index that the rates are based on. Do you have that index? Because I feel like for me, this is a good deal if we're able to hold them to the pricing now. But if it's going to be subject to some sort of index, I'd like to know what that is, because if we're not using their services for another year or two, then we're approving a very different cost per hour than what's on this schedule. And which goes into the second question of when do we anticipate using their services and how long does this contract hold them to those rates?
So this contract is really, in essence, an a la carte contract. So it's the services that we need and that we choose to require or request from them at the time that we request them. So if something comes up in the project where we don't need services, and then there won't be a billing. They won't provide services and we won't bill. It's very much flexible to that. With regard to indexing of the rates, that's because as we just went through our salary increases or pay increases for our staff, private companies do the same on a routine basis every year. They look at their rates, and this is to allow for that to be adjusted. I'd have to look back at the agreement to remind myself, but I believe it's a consumer price index increase. So it's very much about basically just keeping up with the costs of inflation in this business. If for some reason one nice thing about these types of agreements is that in addition to the ability to ask for services and pay for only the services that we need, is the opportunity to reevaluate if for some reason we felt there was something that we didn't like about this particular contract. We're not locked in to the entire contract over the old time. The other thing is this amount is for the duration of the project. The idea is that there will be some services here in the beginning, but the heaviest services, of course, will be when the project is under construction in the field, and we will need people out there managing all and administering all the paperwork involved in a project of this complexity.
So my question regarding the index was only because as I read through the contract, I did not see what that index was. So that's why I was curious as to where they were deriving that index. I do appreciate that it's a la carte and that it's sort of in a way locked in. But I just wanted to know, like, is this, what industry index is this? Because I just put tile on my backsplash and it went up 40% in 3 weeks. So I kind of like to know what that index is.
I guess I have a question of, say our costs do go up and they go up significantly, where are we going to pull this money from, specifically if it's not in any fund that we have? Is that from our reserve?
Well, so far, as of the previous efforts at cost estimating, we did some value engineering last year to go through the project to make sure that if there was something where we could get the same function, the same scope, everything that everybody desired out of the project for less cost, we looked at ways to, is there a cheaper way to do that? In that process, we were able to complete the design with some revisions that saved us some money. And it was a very, very vigorous effort. Having completed that, the project was within the amount of money that we have set aside for the project. As we're looking at it now, that's what we're going to look at again. Look at COVID. You know, cost estimating is, as always, a challenge, but it's a professional service. And you'll recall we've had some projects here where we looked very carefully at that. And as they're looking at the market right now, we anticipate that it's going to be some increase from our last estimate. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but again, there's a significant amount of money that has been set aside for this project, and with the perimeter of the remainder of the campus put on hold as it was, that money is set aside in this account. So that is one place that if we choose not to proceed with that additional perimeter fencing from those funds, or if we decide later on to fund that fencing with some monies from some other account later on, that's an option for us. So I'm confident that we will be able to have the money to complete the project that was promised. And we would hate that we're now at the place where to cut things out of the project would be to cut scope, important things that everybody was promised and expects out of this project.
So if you do have something that says, hey, this one section is going to cost, double than we thought, would you come back to the board and say, hey, we need to value engineer this out?
Well, just as we did back with the design development, we looked at it then. So proactively, we looked at those things and said, wow, this particular area is costing more than we think it ought to cost. And we did some of those things in order to do that. So yes, absolutely, if we need to do that in order to get this back into a more reasonable cost parameter, we would. The problem that we're now at is many of those types of things have already been evaluated. And we're now pretty much down to square footage, volume, and those types of things that we would probably be having to look very hard at whether or not we would have to cut scope. I mean, not that we wouldn't look for value engineering again, but we believe that the low-hanging fruit, if there was any, has already been looked at in this project.
One thing I might help a little bit in your thinking as the years go on, Jeff, but a question to you that you can think about before I finish here in about 30 seconds, and Tim, for you too. Is there any restriction on use of unrestricted fund balance to fill in a gap between? He's shaking. I thought the answer was no. This is a rhetorical question. You may use unrestricted fund balance to fill in a gap between whatever your bond money is and whatever the final product costs. Just a couple things. Haven't done this bit. I would say it's virtually impossible to know what this project's going to cost when it's done in 2024. Number one, you can't do it. Government can't do it. We can't do it. It can't be done in the private sector either. That's one thing. And then the answer to the question, all due respect, I was only smiling, Jeff, when you said, what was the term that you used to get 17%? What'd you call that? What'd you call the 17%? You said you were approaching 17%. What was that term again?
Best practice.
Best practice. Well,
Yes.
I have to tell you, any place I've ever been has a best practice, okay? When librarians want to have more librarians, say, well, best practice would say you have to have X number of librarians for X number of Y number of students. All due respect, you already know this. you have so much more flexibility, you have so much more elbow room come the future years to be able to fill in any gap compared with a really high percentage of school districts in the state of California, like about 95%, okay? Because most districts just don't have the ability to have the chief business official come up and say, well, we haven't quite gotten to best practices, we're 0.6 under 17%, right? Other districts are pushing 5 if they're lucky. Okay, so therefore, I would predict that whatever number it costs for this project, whatever the project looks like, whoever manages it, however you manage it, I'm quite certain, you send me a note in about 4 years, okay? I'm quite certain that you can pay for this project. Even though, and the other thing I would tell you is, when did this term value engineering come in? I've been hearing that. Is that like 5 years old, 10 years old?
Well,
It's a euphemism. It's a euphemism, by the way, for we're cutting stuff out or we're underspending something, right?
Well, that's a common perception. So let me.
I know, that's why I said
may
it.
I please have just a couple of moments because that is such a common perception, and those of us who have been around that term for many, many years know that it's a misperception.
Exactly.
Value engineering is about getting the exact same function with something else that some other approach that
Right.
costs
I
less
remember
to
when
get
we
the same
did that.
function. It's not about cutting things out. A lot of people think, oh, well, we'll remove this, 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 and this, and that's value engineering. It's just cutting things out of the projects. No, it's looking at it and saying, did we come up with a more expensive way to accomplish ultimately what we wanted? You know, did we want some?
Inexpensive.
Less expensive.
Less expensive. Yeah.
Yes, it's about coming up with a less expensive
Yeah.
way instead of the expensive way that we came up with something. So it's the same way when we buy cars. I can go out and buy a car that's going to cost me a whole lot of money that I'm going to use for a cert or a truck that I want just to haul stuff, and I didn't need to pay for a whole bunch of things because I'm not going to use them. Or if I'm just going to haul stuff, I can buy a truck that doesn't have all of those gadgets and gizmos on it. That's what value engineering is
So
about.
I teed that up for you, Tim.
We love to clarify that misunderstanding about value engineering.
I know you
It's
do,
not
I'm sure.
about cutting,
I'm sure you do.
particularly not about cutting scope.
We did that with the Estancia pool because we had this grandiose type of construction and we were going to have like a world-class Olympic pool that Katie Ledecky would be dying to swim in. And we went, yeah, and that'll only cost $3.5 million more than just doing a regular old good-looking, beautiful pool. So we went with the regular old good-looking pool. It's beautiful and gorgeous and it's fabulous.
And in fact,
And Katie Ledecky may still want to come swim in it. Yeah.
and in fact, the only reason that she wouldn't, if she didn't, would be because we put a shallow end in the pool so that it would provide for more community swim than a full depth at both ends Olympic pool, which makes it difficult for that type of swimmer, Katie Ledecky, to make turns on the shallow end of a pool like that.
That
But
would
it
hurt.
is every bit as wide and as long and as deep in the deep end as the other pool.
For less money.
It was strictly a choice between the difference of a modular type of pool and a poured-in-place concrete pool. That's a perfect example of value engineering. You get the same thing, only for less cost.
You just need one more term on the board, and you too can have an example for something like that.
Trustee
I just have.
Crane has-
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, absolutely, I can wait.
My light is on again.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me? All right, so I'd like to go back to the services that will be provided. So, you know, this will be our third theater construction, correct? So, common practice, best practice. This is basically the next due diligence step in our project timeline. And I think it's really important that we stick to that timeline because we do not want to delay this project any further. I am confident that the cost of this project we will keep tabs on, and I would like to see a report of projections as we go along. But what I don't want to do is delay this from moving forward, because we need to remember who we're here for and who we're doing this for. And it's the kids at Estancia High School, the kids of the Estancia community. And I can guarantee you that if we keep delaying this project, the cost is going to absolutely go up, and to the point where we're going to have to possibly limit the scope of the project, thus negatively affecting the kids and the program at Estancia. So for me, again, this is not our first rodeo. This is the sequence of a timeline, a project. Our staff needs the necessary help with these professionals that we're going to hire in order for them to stay on target. That's it.
And Trustee Orsolu also has some questions.
So, Mr. Holcomb, oh, can you hear me? Yeah. What is the date of the last cost estimate that we've done on the project?
Cost estimate was completed as we submitted to DSA, which was last fall. So last fall, the design was finalized and a cost estimate was put together. Back in March and April was when we went through that cost estimate and reviewed all of what the latest was on it at that time.
Your cost estimate was from November, or you did another one this spring in April?
Because as I mentioned, the project, the cost estimate was completed on the basis of the submittal package that was submitted to DSA. That was submitted in about November of last year. Ms. Zaresny is here. I don't remember exactly when we received the cost estimate from the cost estimator, but it would have taken them a while after the submittal was made to review it, do their cost estimate, submit it to us. And then, as I recall, it was around March when the team went through that entire cost estimate to understand it better.
Okay, so our last cost estimate is from March? Is that what we're saying?
That's correct.
And yeah, so this is, frustrating. I suppose, my bigger issue is that if you're talking about using augmented staff to do this work, the work that it sounds like you need done, like preparing the bid package, doing another more recent cost estimate, those are elements that can be contracted, by an on-call augmentation, and that's not really construction management tasks. Those are really design and program management tasks. So my fear is that bringing a CM firm, giving them $1 million contract and having them be part of preparing a bid package that's ultimately going to impact their work just seems kind of conflicty to me. Am I misunderstanding the definition of a CM firm versus a PM? It sounds like PM tasks in the bulleted list you gave us. Those were project management design tasks, but you're saying that these are the guys that are going to be on for the whole duration of the project, which is the CM work. Can you clarify that?
The reason why I was clarifying at the beginning of my comments about this being staff augmentation services, and in the industry, sometimes it's called construction management, sometimes it's called project management, many times the services are the same. And so I clarified that this is not a contractor, this is staff augmentation services.
Contractor, but the people that put together the bid packet, doing the cost estimate, those aren't CM.
Commonly by many folks called construction management.
Did you have another question?
I did, yeah. So when we get the estimated cost analysis back and say it has doubled, what I'm hearing is we have healthy reserves, we have a lot of money, so we're just going to go for it because we have money, which to me is not the spirit or the true reason of why we took out a bond and did Measure F. The money was set aside by taxpayers to benefit facilities, not to then overextend ourselves into our budget as well. One of my concerns also is the Measure F money has largely gone to secondary facilities and it has not gone to elementary schools. So we're actually not just building one theater at Estancia. Ostensibly, it's two theaters. It's a black box and another theater. So we don't know what the actual estimated cost analysis is as of today or any indeterminate time in the future. Like if we had a date, that would be great. Like by November 1st, we will have this to you. I know Trustee Ursula and I have both asked for more information and haven't gotten it. My concern is that the number will, even 20% of an increase might be too much to continue with the current scope. I think I went to Estancia for 3 years. I know the campus better than most people. I understand that this is a need and we want this. However, there's other factors at play and we're just not getting enough information. And when I'm getting a list that say things like DSA approval, which is something that was already submitted, or on here as a list of one of the things that CM would do was you gave us a short list of support district and outreach efforts and communication updates to the project stakeholders. Well, that hasn't really happened at the beginning, or I don't know what they would be doing now. Some of these are things that have already been done by our own staff or from others in the past because we've already spent $1 million on this project. So my concern is spending another $1 million when we don't know if we should go forward with the current scope because we don't know what the costs are. That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, I'd just like to clarify one thing. I've been here now almost 5 years. One of the very first things I was asked when I came here to the district was there was one remaining project on the bond program list that had not yet been completed. That was the Estancia Theater project. At the time, there was not sufficient funding to fund the theater. We would need to issue new bonds. The question was whether or not we could do so under the tax rate requirement of our bond language. So we worked very hard my first year here to look to see whether or not we could raise enough money under Measure F to meet the commitment to build the same type of theater at Estancia as had been built at the other schools. That was a key expectation of us. Mr. Trader and I worked on that very diligently. We were able to raise more money than we had thought at that time, and in fact, less than what we initially budgeted for this project. So thankfully, in the times of COVID, we were able to raise more money than we thought. And the whole objective of these last 5 years has been to keep this project on schedule to deliver the last project that was promised to the voters in exactly the terms that were given to us. We didn't pick the scope for this project. This is a project that predates my being here. We're just carrying it out.
Okay, my comment on this was, and that Measure F had specifics. The theater at Estancia is one of the specifics. And while it is built on the high school campus, it absolutely benefits every single elementary school because every elementary school program that uses a theater uses the theater at the high school. They are scheduled to the max, and the elementary schools love being able to perform there. So it is a benefit to the elementary schools. Plus, those children in elementary school become high school students and enjoy it there. That was number one. And then, as far as the other parts of it, I want to call the question.
Okay, so I don't have a motion yet.
Then it's a resolution. I thought, Trustee Ursula, no, I was.
This isn't a resolution.
This wasn't. This was a discussion action. Oh.
This was consent calendar. It was
yes,
like
we moved to discuss it. So if I move, I want to move to pass it. Approve it like it would, as it was written to be on the discussion action.
The master agreement with SafeWorks CM for construction management services for Estancia Theater project. So you want to make that motion?
I want to make that motion. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's moved by Trustee Metoyer. Do I have a second from anybody? Does Trustee Crane?
Trustee Crane, did you want?
Yeah, she does.
Her hand is up.
Her hand is up. Okay.
She does, yes.
Trustee, okay. So moved by trustee Metoyer, oh, there's an ant. Moved by trustee Metoyer, seconded by trustee Crane. We will take a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Sofia Catania.
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Trustee Barto.
Yes, but with the request that when you have a chance, I get that index, please. Thank you.
Trustee Metoyer.
Yes.
Trustee Weigand.
No.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou.
Nope.
The project is approved, or the motion is approved 4-3. Thank you for answering questions, Mr. Item 22, resolution adoption calendar. 22A, resolution 7921 of the Board of Education of the Newport-Mesa Unified School District to adopt International Walk to School Wednesday, October 6, 2000. What is this?
Two people want to talk about it. And sort out.
Oh, for this, okay.
For this.
Walk to School Wednesday, October 6, 2021, in support of safe routes to schools.
Would you like him to
Ms.
speak to
Doris?
that?
Sure.
Yes. So after our last discussion regarding this item, we do have plans and we are moving forward with a walk to school today. And so Kirk Baumeister, who is in our audience this evening, has been working diligently on this to make it happen. And so, Kirk, could I actually call on you to come up quickly and just describe the work that you've done, the schools that are participating, and the contacts you've had with Costa Mesa PD? Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. I've also been working with the Bikeability Walkability Committee with the City of Costa Mesa, the Costa Mesa Police Department. We have been doing this program for at least the last 4 or 5 years that I remember. We generally had 4 or 5 schools in the City of Costa Mesa. The PD would go out, they would meet our kids at a location, they would go escort them to school along with the parents. And this year we have all of the schools in the City of Costa Mesa involved in the program.
Nice.
And in fact, we had to do it over 2 days because PD could only have 6 schools at one time because they have to send out officers and they can't send out all of their officers. So we had a great turnout this year. We have all of our schools. So it's on October 6th, which is the International Day. And then we are doing it the next week on the 13th with all of our schools in the City of Costa Mesa. So we're excited about the program for this year.
And I just want to acknowledge Trustee Anderson is the person who brought this to our attention to bring on the agenda in some form. So would you like to comment or?
Sure, that would be great. And then I think we have a couple of speakers who have been doing this work far longer than I have been doing it. Thank you, Dr. Bauermeister, for all of your support and for attending the Bikeability and Walkability Committee for so many years for the City of Costa Mesa. I've been able to participate for over 2 years with the Orange County Transportation Authority Safe Route to School Working Group. And one of the key concerns is some of our neighborhoods over by 19th Street are very unsafe. And so as our board policy allows, students were allowed previously to take the bus because it was an unsafe industrial zone. I would have liked to have seen us we've done walk audits. There's been a lot of work in the city to make sure that areas are safe, but there are several areas that are not, including 18th Street doesn't have a bike path. There's a lot of reports that have been done. Unfortunately, it's not as safe as it could be to walk to school. So part of this will create pathways for parents to be able to walk with their kids and see exactly what their kids are experiencing. And then also too, just an opportunity for some of our schools like Victoria, where a majority of the school community walks or bikes because it's so close and the parking lot's so small. So I'm just excited to continue this. In the past, OCTA went to individual principals and it didn't really take off to the level that it could have. So having this district or citywide for all of the schools to be able to participate is really huge. So I think particularly Jim Erickson, who's been part of the Parks and Recs Department as chair and the Bikeability and Walkability Committee as the chair for a long time. and the two speakers that you will hear in a little bit. I think there's just a lot of momentum right now that we want our streets to be safe for all of our neighbors and residents. So thank you for supporting this resolution.
Thank you. So I do have two speakers on this topic that I will call. Flo Martini.
I've been a pedestrian of Costa Mesa for 54 years. My son started walking to College Park School in 1973. He then accompanied his younger brother the following year to walk to College Park. They continued walking and cycling to Davis Middle School. In fact, my younger son got his first traffic ticket on the first day of Davis Middle School for riding his bicycle on the wrong side. They got a sense of independence. They got a sense of responsibility. They got a sense of adventure. And as young adults, actually now they're both in their 50s, they still have that sense of adventure and responsibility. I have been a member of the Bikeway and Walkability Committee since its inception, and I have participated in all of the College Park Walk to School days. It's exciting. There's 20 to 30 kids and parents. We're accompanied by Costa Mesa PD, which is really exciting. The last time, 2 years ago, we were accompanied by Costa Mesa PD on their bikes, and that was totally awesome. We need to foster a sense of love of walking and cycling in our young kids. We need to foster a sense of love and excitement for active transportation. I am close to 80 years of age, and I walk the city of Costa Mesa up and down at least 10 miles a week. My husband is 81. He has 6 bikes, and he does everything on his bike. He has a grocery bike, a mountain bike, a road bike. I have an electric tricycle now, so watch out.
I love it.
We need to do this for our kids. We need active transportation in the city of Costa Mesa, so please continue the program for all of our schools and our school kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great.
Come back anytime.
Yeah, really. Anything you want to talk on, just come back.
I used to be a teacher in Newport-Mesa.
Oh, see?
Part of the family.
Russell Toller.
That was great.
Good evening, trustees. Thank you for talking about this tonight, and thank you for letting me speak. I'm also part of the family. I grew up in Newport-Mesa Unified School District, and now my 2 kids are attending Newport-Mesa as well. I'm a planning commissioner with the city of Costa Mesa, but I'm not speaking on behalf of them tonight. But I will speak as a member of the Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets. We've been around, we're a nonprofit 501c3. We've been around about 2 years. We've been growing a lot of momentum with city staff, with city council, and with community members. Not so much in the school community so far. Obviously, I heartily want to support this Safe Routes to School resolution that you have. I think it's cool. I think it's telling that we need police officers to escort kids walking and biking to school. I think we should, frankly, be a little shocked by the need for that. My family and I live about a half mile from Kaiser and Woodland, where they attend school, which is about a 10-minute walk or a 5-minute bike ride. And we believe that walking and biking is the right way to get there. It's the healthy thing to do. It's the natural thing to do. We also think it's the right thing to do for the safety of the other people that are walking and bike there, for the community, for the planet. We're just trying to do what's best for us and what's best for the community. But it's a strong current that we're swimming against. It's very hard to do so. It's very stressful to ride a bike alongside a first grader riding her bike on her own, alongside SUVs. And unfortunately, a lot of parents that are distracted and hurried. And it's a positive feedback loop. That's the reason it's A lot of people that do live within easy walking and biking distance opt to drive instead is because it's an uncomfortable environment around drop-off and pickup times in our school zones. So there's a lot of solutions out there. There's design solutions, which would restrict drivers from certain areas, would force them to slow down. There's programmatic solutions, which would incentivize biking or walking to school or disincentivize being dropped off by your parents. And we probably need to use all the tools we have in the toolbox. It's bad out there. I don't think I need to get into the details or tell you stories, but I think we all understand what the environment out there is like. And I don't want to place this burden on the school district. I don't think it's totally the school district's responsibility, but I don't know to what extent everybody thinks it's somebody else's responsibility. It's the city, Bikeway and Walkability Committee. Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets is more than willing to come alongside you guys and help. It's probably the principals, the PTAs, but it's bad out there and it's getting worse in a lot of ways. It's year after year, it's getting worse. And I just hope the board can help facilitate everybody coming together and having this conversation to get things done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do I
I'd
have
like to make a motion.
Yes.
To approve the resolution to adopt the International Walk to School Day this year for Wednesday, October 6th and October 13th in support of Safe Routes to School.
I'll second.
I have one quick question. It won't change my vote, but is this only for elementary schools?
It's primarily for elementary schools. There's actually, it's an international program, so it can be preschool through 12, which would be the intent at some point.
Okay,
We're just getting elementary school started. Yes.
We'll get started. Good.
Yes, we do. We need a lot for e-bikes, right?
Safely in elementary school.
And I'm hoping that maybe we can convince our PTAs, maybe Harbor Council, and could reinvent looking for bike rodeos, which helps teach the kids how to ride their bikes safely with the police department. So just a thought.
Okay,
And
we have a motion by
you're doing
trustee
that?
Anderson.
And it was seconded by trustee.
Seconded by trustee Barto.
Why? Oh, Barto.
Barto.
One of the young people on
It's a
either side of
roll
me.
call vote.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Matoye?
Yes.
Trustee Weigand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you,
Yay.
speakers, for coming to join us.
Yes, thank you.
22B, adopt resolution 3921.
Mrs. Bowler had a quick comment.
Pardon?
Mrs. Bowler.
Lisa had a comment about the
Yeah.
Harbor Council.
Because I brought them into it.
I just wanted to say that at my last two PTA meetings, I brought up Walk to School Day. And yesterday at our meeting, Maria from the Orange County Health Department, she brought the kits for back to school or Walk to School Day, which are bright green bags. There are posters and banners that will be going up to the schools. I want to say she brought 10 of our schools. Majority Costa Mesa, but Newport Heights was one of them. And they have nice big, bracelets for the kids, certificates.
Cool.
So we're on it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adopt resolution 3921, GAN limit for 2020-2021, and estimate GAN limit for 2021-2022. Mr. Trader.
So in accordance with Proposition 4, otherwise known as the GAN limit sets appropriations limited to growth no faster than the growth of population and inflation. Population for us would be our average daily attendance. And so with that, then we are establishing those appropriation limits. We are actually increasing our limit from 2021 by $30,836,411.46. That is of no consequence to the district because that will be scored against the the state's scan limit.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Wygan, seconded by trustee Metoyer.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Matoye?
Yes.
Trustee Wigand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Thank you. 22C, adopt resolution 4921, finding the transportation maintenance lifts project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act and approving the filing and recordation of a notion of exemption. Mr. Holcomb?
Yes, our lifts in our transportation building for lifting the buses need to be replaced. We brought in an environmental consultant to make sure that if there were any environmental issues that we needed to address as we do that project, environmental consultant has reviewed the entire project and has determined that it is exempt from CEQA. So this is an action on your part to agree with his finding that this is exempt from CEQA.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Metoyer, seconded by trustee Wygan. Roll call vote.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Matoye?
Yes.
Trustee Wigand?
Yep.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
We've got a lot of resolutions tonight.
We do. That means lots of
Adoption, item resolution 22D, adopt resolution 5921, authorizing the establishment and maintenance of site revolving cash. Mr. Trader?
The district maintains several petty cash funds at various sites. As personnel changes, we have to change those custodians, and this resolution updates those for those custodian changes.
Do you have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Moved by trustee Barto, seconded by trustee Anderson. Roll call vote.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Matoye?
Yes.
Trustee Wigand?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Okay, and the final resolution, 22E, adopt resolution 6921, approving determination of no competitive advantage to public bidding and authorizing execution of a contract with A. Cabral Roofing Group, Inc. for roof repairs at Ensign Intermediate School. Mr. Holcomb.
Yes, thank you, President Yelsey. As you know, we've been doing some major maintenance projects this year, including some major roofing projects, and it's definitely time. We knew, based on what we could see, that there would be some significant wood rot that would need to be replaced. And Mr. Bidnick and his team put an estimate together of how much they thought that might be. And then when the roof was actually taken off, they found that it was much, much more extensive than what they could anticipate from what they saw on the surface of the roof beforehand. So that then we can issue change orders to contractors, but the state has a limit of 10% on change orders for construction contractors. But there is a provision in law wherein if there would be no competitive advantage to the district to bid out the work, you can make a resolution finding that there would be no competitive advantage to bidding out this extra work. And then with this resolution, it will be compliant with state law, and we will be able to pay the contractor the full the value of this remaining work. So Mr. Bidnick and his team did an analysis of the amount of work, the costs of putting out a bid. You know, it costs thousands of dollars for us to run the publications for the bid. There's administrative, there would be delays involved, those types of things, and what the costs were that the contractor was proposing. And he and our legal counsel have both reviewed all of this and recommend to you that, in fact, there is no competitive bid advantage in this case, and that this is an appropriate finding for you to make this evening. He is here, by the way, if you have any specific questions for him.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I'll let Trustee Crane do it. I noticed her hand.
Trustee Crane, okay. Moved by Trustee Wygan, seconded by Trustee Crane. Roll call vote,
Trustee Yelsey,
yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes.
Trustee Matoye,
Yes.
Trustee Wigand,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou.
Yes.
Okay, we're on to item 23, informal reports. Superintendent Bangser?
I have a long-standing rule that there's an inverse relationship between the length of the board meeting and the length of my comments.
Okay.
Therefore, I will defer any other comments that I already, Rosie said I went way past my time when I was trying to get every single speaker's acknowledgement. Anyhow, I will roll the comments I was going to make today into my October 5th comments, depending on how many other speakers come that night. Anyway,
Okay.
and I know these, and to be serious, I know the assistant superintendents have things they want to tell you, so I'll pass.
Ms. Torres?
All right, so, school is up and running, so I'm excited to say I've had the opportunity to go out and visit school sites, walk classrooms, spent the morning today at Costa Mesa and Estancia, spending time in science and math classrooms, and just, it's exciting just to be back out and being able to see actual students in classes and instruction, so I'm making my way around the district to be able to see that at every school site. Just working with Ensign as well, just on bike safety programs, and so it's just been a topic of discussion most recently. So we're working on some items there to help bring community safety in regards to biking. And then finally, just looking at instructionally what we are trying to achieve in secondary education, and that is eliciting and responding to student thinking. So it's an initiative that we're working through this year, and it's being led by our Director of Teaching and Learning, Mike Shaka, and we're excited to be able to start the program and just really start training people up and our principals to be able to help our teachers bring the best out in our students.
Thank you.
And I'm going to piggyback a little bit on Ms. Torres's comments as well. Schools are definitely up and running, and our principals are definitely in that mode of other duties as assigned, with all of the guidelines and nuances of opening their schools in this time. So just a huge thank you to them for, first of all, really focusing on that safety piece. And making sure that, we're living up to our primary goal of keeping kids in seats. There's pushback and support both ways, and they've really just done an amazing job with it. While at the same time, we have had 2 sessions already with our principals, 2-hour sessions, focusing on building their instructional leadership around the math standards, with the expectation that they'll also spend 2 hours a month with their schools, with their teachers, in doing the same. So, all in all, even with all of the operational things, we are still focusing on, improvement. Which is a positive. In the same sense, other duties is assigned. I do want to also, getting back to kind of that idea of safety, thank Kathleen Leary, who has definitely, kind of been voluntold that she's overseeing our district-wide safety plan, COVID safety plan. And she really has embraced that and, does it knowing that it's what's best for kids, while at the same time supporting the principals, meeting weekly with principals to make sure that their answers and unique situations are being supported and addressed. So huge thank you to Kathleen as well.
Thank you. Mr. Trader?
This past couple weeks, I had some time got to spend some time with Moody's Investor Service, who reaffirmed the district's AA1 rating. They indicated that the factors include very healthy economy here, district strong financial position, but we had somewhat high leverage and moderate fixed cost. So that's good news for that reaffirmation.
Thank you. That's great.
Yep. I like A's. Mr. Trader.
I'm Mr. Holcomb.
Mr. Holcomb.
That's entirely fine, Ms. Yelsey. I would be happy to be Mr. Trader on most days. I would like to
point out or commend Ms. Zaresny on the amount of work that she's been handling these many months of COVID, but particularly through this year when she did a fantastic job of mentoring one of her two people that helps her with all of these projects in-house, who was so well mentored that he was able to get a director of facilities job at another district, which has left her going from 3 people to carry all the facilities project weight down to 2 people, while we're also adding a whole lot of staff who need places to sit and a whole lot of projects. So she really has been, and her other team member, Steve Morris, have been working very, very diligently to try to keep up with everything these last few months, and I'm glad that I understand that an offer will be going out very shortly for somebody to take the place of the gentleman who left.
Thank you. Ms. Olson.
Yeah, I was reflecting, this time of year is really exciting for HR because school has started, which means that we've done our job of getting people in positions. Even though right now, I will share, it is difficult. I think we're hearing that in all sectors, that finding employees in some areas is difficult, and there's no exception for education. But our team is doing a phenomenal job. When I looked at those numbers for the summer program, that was the size of a small district. The HR team pulled together and did the staffing. That is staffing from, you're not adding, you are creating from 0 to the number of staff members to support that program. So basically this spring and a little bit into the summer, we staffed a whole district in some ways you might think of. And so I really want to commend our team with Megan Brown and Kristen Clark and Shoshana Nakano for really keeping our group going and doing that. And then moving from that with some of the guidelines, one of them is the vaccination verification process that allows employees some different guidelines if they're vaccinated versus being unvaccinated. And so with the help of IT and a collaboration, which is great, we created a system that was safe, that people felt it was secure. It wasn't a Google Doc, so it was just a few questions, and we were able to get verifications. Just to let folks know that we now are going into another phase of it where there will be a message going out asking people, please do your vaccination verification, because we are planning for those who will be unvaccinated as of October 15th, we will have to start testing weekly. And so that will be our next big movement that we're working on, but that notice will be going out soon. I also want to share, I'm very excited that Shoshana Nakano, who will be overseeing volunteers, is having that process cleaned up that will include vaccination verification. And so information will be going out to our parents shortly of when that is available for them to start being processed, so that when we are ready to say we can have volunteers on campus, we'll be ready to go. So very happy about that.
Thank you. Dr. Giacomo.
Thank you. First, I want to kind of piggyback on something that Sarah from NMFT shared a little bit earlier, and that was regarding the nurses and their work and the impact of COVID and really most importantly contact tracing, and that's what's taking such an incredible amount of time. And I was able to meet with them last week and hear their concerns, and we're looking at developing additional support systems in place to handle this. And it's really in that the intent of keeping kids in school, and that leads us to there's a regular quarantine, there's a shortened quarantine, and there's a modified quarantine. And they all have different regulations and different people who can qualify, And so it's the nurses, but it's also the site administrators. And the site administrators are spending their nights and weekends also working with families and doing this work. So it takes a village. And then with our employees, it's HR takes the lead, the primary lead on dealing with employee COVID cases, along with our director of health services. So, it really is a kind of a group effort to make sure we move forward on this. One of the things we're excited about is that we have gotten some test kits for home testing for students at this point, and they've been delivered to our school sites. We will have a message going out to families early next week. I want to have the sites kind of weigh in on what their process is going to be. But the nurses will have availability for students who qualify for modified quarantine to give the family the 2 tests that they need to submit. And then also, we do know that there's families who they're concerned their student may have gotten contact from the community or through their outside sports or through clubs, and they want to be able to test their students, and we want to be able to give them that opportunity to do that. Kind of give them the test kit, but then they do that on their own, and they would just notify us if it's a positive result. So it's a good next step, but again, it's going to require some additional work from our front office staff at school sites and all of that, but that's really exciting. And then in my regular job of student support services, I asked Kristen Henry, who is our coordinator of mental health services, to give me a quick little blurb that I could share this evening about kind of an update on our SAIL team and our mental health support. And she provided me with a beautiful infographic, and I will send it to trustees Crane and Ursoilu, so you also will have it. But really what it does is it just gives you a quick overview snapshot of currently what we've done in the district for our SAIL team. And that's really that we have our 4 general behavior specialists, 4 at elementary, 2 at secondary, and 1 to support our foster youth who are in the system. We have our 5 general education social workers. We have 4 by zone, and we're still in the process of hiring the 1 social worker to support our homeless McKinney-Vento students. And then we have, and very excited about the general education counselors. They are such an exciting group. They are so on fire to work at the school sites, and the schools are excited to have them. As you know, we have 11 of them, so they split between 2 school sites, and they're being integrated into the work of the school, but not being pulled into directions that are not appropriate for them. So we really feel it's been a good, strong rollout. And then on the chart, I gave you just a couple of sample activities so you understand kind of the difference between the behavior specialists, the social workers, and the counselors. And we look forward to a presentation maybe later this fall, really going over again our full MTSS support vision. So I wanted to share that and thank Kristen for that work on that. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank Kristen. This is great. We like looking at infographics.
It's easy to understand. That's very helpful.
Board member reports. Does anybody have anything?
Trustee Ursoilu has one.
Okay.
Just had a short one. I couldn't cut in earlier when it was the walk to school resolution. I just want to thank everybody that's worked so hard on that. Having been one of the founding members of the Bikeability, Walkability Committee in Costa Mesa, I had the honor of working with Jim Erickson and Flo Martin, who you heard from today. And I am just so glad to be a part of the Costa Mesa community where people are focused on biking and walking safely to school. And I'm so excited that this Trustee Anderson has put so much emphasis on this in the past couple of years to make sure that every elementary school will do it. So I'm excited to do it October 13th at my daughter's school. And I also just wanted to say that, I continue to hear from really engaged parents in the Estancia zone who kind of have the pulse of what's actually happening in our area. And they are very much looking forward to the study session on Tewinkle. So I'm hopeful that we can get that pulled together as was promised to them in the next couple months. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else for board reports?
So I have a Coastline ROP report. It's kind of exciting. Coastline ROP just approved 2 new courses and pathways, and they did it at Costa Mesa High School. So that's exciting. One of them is Child Development, a concentrator course, and the Culinary Arts, which many times is a general ed, but it is being brought in as a fine arts course. So that's very exciting over there under the, the
Pretty food.
Yeah,
Pretty
so
food.
the classifications, normally you get a G, but this is an F for a visual and performing arts, fine arts course. So I'm really excited for not getting an F, but it's rated that. That's the way the classification is. So it's a fine arts program, and I'm really excited to see how that goes and how that takes off. Additionally, the Coastline ROP superintendent will be retiring, and so we are beginning a search process over there. So with recent experience, I'm excited to be part of that. And then for legislation, I just wanted to bring in that the biggest thing for legislation was CSBA had brought up AB 438, which would impose a March 15th deadline for decisions for support staff, as well as the way it already is, which is for teachers and classified. And I think that's a much bigger effect in districts that are not basic aid, but it does make it hard to plan going forward as the state budgets tend to change before you know what you're committing to. So that was my ledge report for that.
Thank you.
I have a report from the Costa Mesa Youth Sports Committee. It's one of the best committees around because there's so many people on it and everybody's working for the good of the kids of the community. So they're excited the kids are back on the fields, but of course their concern is the fields, are they going to be dry? And they're really looking forward to, Mr. Bidnick and Dr. Barmeister were both there, and they're looking forward to working with our M&O to figure out our landscaping issues that we have that are bigger and better, that they're willing to help be part of the solution rather than the problem. And like I said, I've always enjoyed working with that committee, so it's early in the morning, but it's a good committee.
Thank you. And I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge a letter that I received from the Department of Education. Yeah, why don't you go?
I forgot to mention, over the weekend on Sunday, early on Sunday, Trustee Anderson and I were part of our Orange County Supervisors parade for Olympians, and it was really, really wonderful to see the community turnout. It made we had representatives from all over the county, and we had about 10 or 12 Olympians, 5 of whom were NMUSD graduates. So that was really, really exciting. The small town feel was kind of amazing, just to see all these teachers from Newport L who turned out retired and current, teachers from all over the district, Anderson. Lots of people came up to me and they said how excited they were and inspiring these athletes were. And it was really great because my kids are pretty, they're used to this kind of thing. They're pretty articulate. But when they're sailors, so when one of the Olympians, Charlie Buckingham, came up and said, "Oh, are these your kids? I hear they're sailors." It was probably like my favorite thing ever because my kids went, "Hi." They were so starstruck. So that was awesome to see the inspiration that they, even though they act like they're pretty cool, the inspiration that having a Newport Harbor graduate and a sailor brought to them.
That's good.
And that's why we have our Olympic pools, so we can
Right, so we can have
develop
Olympians.
Olympic athletes, definitely. I just wanted to share a letter that we received from the county. Al Maharaz, actually, superintendent, sent it, and just to acknowledge all the people that worked on our LCAP. And it was to thank us for the timely submission of the 2021-22 Local Control and Accountability Plan for Newport Mesa. We've completed our analysis of the LCAP annual update and budget overview. for parents pursuant to the requirements of the Ed Code, and are pleased to inform you that your LCAP for Newport Mesa has met the requirements for approval. And they go on to acknowledge all the people who were involved in preparing our LCAP. And I think we can't thank Vanessa Gailey and her entire team and Mr. Trader, everyone involved in the district, and pretty much everyone was involved. So I think we should be proud of that, because I think we probably send to them the best LCAP in the county. And he ended by saying, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to your staff for the exceptional effort invested in developing the LCAP and your commitment to ensure the highest quality of educational experience for every student during this challenging time. So once again, thank you, Vanessa. If you're home watching, if you're not, someone can tell her that we thank her. So with that, are there any other comments? Do I have a motion? Yes.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting, and you want to continue in the name of John Hammond.
Which we did at the opening session, who is a teacher. Most people were not online at the time, a teacher in our district for 24 years and a coach at CDM, and he passed away yesterday. So I adjourn the meeting in his memory. And thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Have a good
Sticking it out. Drive safely.
rest of the week. Yes.